it's your girl Jaymie and your favorite Scorpio as fuck astrologer. I'm super excited to be introducing a collab. I'm doing a collab with one of my all-time favorite astrologers who's not just an astrologer, but she's a medical astrologer with a med background as an emergency doctor, surgeon, Ayurvedic practitioner. She's been studying medical astrology since she was 14 years old. And honestly, as impressive and as skillful and insanely precise as her readings are, she's even more impressive and more incredible as a human being. We are so lucky to have this woman as an advocate. I don't know anyone who has been more fiercely loyal and committed in educating us and supporting us in our health and our well-being. I'm super excited to be doing this. Some of you may already know her through Lotta. I'd like to welcome Dr. Maria Johnson. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jaymie, for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you as actually a client of mine, because we will talk about that too. Even if I am a medical doctor or whatever medical, I'm always only a human being. I want to say that. I want to state that because none of us is perfect. I try with my best of all abilities that I know, the wisdom or whatever, how you want to name it, information for yourself, it's not the mass. Each individual is very, very, very important. And that I stick to it because I see every human being as different, even if you have a beautiful natal chart, whatever, but it's important just for yourself and not for anybody else. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm super excited. So today we're going to be talking about the overall immune system, and you're going to be going over like where our immune system is throughout our body. And obviously, like we can't cover everything, but like some of the things that can go wrong if we're out of sync. And then we'll be discussing kind of briefly the emotional, psychological, spiritual root causes behind that, which is so vitally important, which is why I do recommend that you save this video for the future, because all of this information is going to be useful for you for the rest of your life. Like our immune system is always going to operate the way that it does. And I think it's important to remember that in order to really truly heal, like we're both very committed to getting to the root of the cause and really digging deeply. And for that, it's important to remember that we're spiritual beings here to have a human experience, not the other way around. Now, of course, we live in the 3D reality. We only have this physical body, so we need to take care of it. But in order to really heal ourselves, the truth is, by the time we have a physical symptom, there's either on a conscious, subconscious, and or subconscious level, a conscious, subconscious, or unconscious level, we have been ignoring, denying, not addressing and resolving a deeper root cause. And so getting to that is really important because oftentimes, just the way medical industry is designed, it doesn't cover these root causes as much. So people don't know what else you can do. And so it's like, obviously, like, yes, take care of your physical body, exercise, eat healthy, do the things that are good for your physical body, but you have to go deeper in order for it to be really effective. The body has a way of communicating that we're just not aware of. So we do want to give you guys some insights, and I don't want you to feel discouraged. Like, I want you to have this mindset shift, because when I say, okay, addressing things emotionally, psychologically, physically, and spiritually are all important, don't take it like this is an overwhelming thing and you have to handle all of this. This is actually really beautiful. There's more than one way for our body to heal. And so choose the thing that is most receptive to you at any given moment. And when you do that, it sort of becomes a catalyst of everything else that you're doing. And this is really to show you, like, look at how many different ways our body is able to heal. And, obviously we're going to be covering this more deeply, like, talking about like detoxes and whatnot. And we will also be showing you how to do a lymphatic massage. But the beauty is that when you really get to the root of these things, it's not nearly as overwhelming as you think it is. And because nature is the most healing medicine, and everything from prescription and all of this stuff is found in nature, nature isn't nearly as demanding as conventional medicine. And I don't say this, I'm not bashing Western medicine. There's a place and beauty for Western medicine, Eastern medicine, holistic medicine. It's just a matter of recognizing what's best for us. And as astrologers, we know that sometimes things can get activated. Sometimes, like for myself, when I had health issues, I didn't know what the other causes were. So I was at a disadvantage. So we want to share with you guys these information. And this is why I do recommend that you save this video, because most of the time when we're having these health issues, there is a fear and there's a resistance, whether you're aware of it or not, to get to the root problem. And, you know, these can be things that you've inherited and stuff. Yes, there are environmental triggers, but even with environmental triggers, there's a reason why we contracted a specific illness. And then there are things where, you know, whatever our parents, our family, our ancestors didn't resolve, it's our legacy to resolve it. So our health, our body has a way of communicating that. And this is just something that's really important to understand, so that you get this holistic healing and understand like when certain things are going to be more beneficial. And so we're going to be giving you some insights. Obviously, you'll be covering more of the medical stuff, and then I'll be giving some recommendations and insights on how you can use, how you can incorporate certain things, because as useful as this information is, it's not going to help you if you don't use the information. So I want to give you guys some inspired ideas. And we're also going to be talking about other stuff. I know you're going to be talking about the collective medical influence that Jupiter, as it gets closer to Uranus, is going to have on us. And so we're going to cover a lot of stuff, but definitely save this video, because if you're going through a health issue and you're feeling some resistance, when you're ready, you know, sometimes it does take time. Like, this is going to be helpful. You can share this with friends, family, and maybe you don't need this video now, but you know, a month from now, a year from now. Yeah, like this is literally going to be information that's going to help you for the rest of your life. So definitely please save this video.
What we have also to consider, Jaymie, and for the audience, of course, we will talk about detoxing and so on, but it's also that we have to look after our auric field. It's not only our physical body, but the auric field is very, very important too, because otherwise you get attacked by many things from the outside. I want to apologize already, because I want to say it in advance. I have my notes because I have in my head 3 languages during the day. I speak these 3 languages, and sometimes I have a mix up with the languages, so I have my notes, otherwise I would be lost. I just want to say that in advance, because English, of course, is not my mother tongue. Italian and actually Swiss German, and I mix everything up. So just to say so. But the auric field also, we have to be careful who will we let also next to us, because we have very toxic people around us. It's not only just the environment.
Yeah.
We have toxic also from our gadgets, from our telephones, from our computers. We have to do a detox also there. So we will try to cover up as much as we can. I will not go too specific into the medical stuff. I want that the layman understands what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I will perhaps use some, I don't know, metaphors to let understand people better, or make an example about myself or about you. If you, I mean, we can share that. We don't have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
As we were talking last time about the cup being too full.
Yes. Yeah, I love that metaphor.
Because it's really like that. I want that people understand it, because medical terminology, I mean, yes, it's fine, but the layman doesn't understand it, and I don't want it.
No, and that's one of the things that as skilled as you are, like if you weren't as clear of a communicator, I wouldn't have like agreed to the collab, because I'm like, I don't want to confuse anyone. And I think one of your greatest assets is you're a great communicator. And I say this as someone, like the men in my family become doctors. And I feel like, you know, obviously it takes a lot of intelligence to go through med school, but I don't know, maybe it's just the rigorous like med environment. You know, it really trains you to think in a certain way. And I think some doctors have a hard time shifting out of that. And I'm like, I didn't go to med school. Like, I'm going to need you to break it down so it makes sense to me. And you're so good at that.
Well, don't forget, Jaymie, we all have different personalities, or certain strengths. We have things that we don't really like, okay? But for me, I have learned it very, very young. When I don't understand something, I'm a double Aries. So I'm very straightforward, but I don't have problems to ask. If I
Me
don't understand,
neither.
I say, what is the meaning of it? What are you talking about? I have Saturn
Mhm.
in Aquarius, okay? So I am very sometimes too specific when I write something because I like to explain it perhaps the scientific way. But I
Mhm.
have, even if I write a medical terminology in a report, I want that the reader understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I
And
put it
those
in
of you guys,
brackets or whatever.
yeah. And at the end, we're going to be talking about the readings, and I'll share with you guys like an example of how specific and how clear it is. So we'll cover that. That's one of my favorite things about your readings.
Okay. I will, if you don't mind, Jaymie, I will talk about
Yes.
the immune system, because the immune system,
Mhm.
we do often talk only about the immune system that is in our bowels. That is not true.
Yeah.
Or our microbiome and so forth. Okay, but we see the body. We should see. I correct myself. We should see the body as one entire vessel. It's not
Mhm.
we have the immune system and what about the heart, or what about the kidney, whatever. We have to see it as a whole. Okay, so um, because we tend to see the body as in parts, just like a
Yeah.
sketch. This is the heart, this is the lung, but it's all interconnected. We cannot go away from it because it's one vessel. That's it. And
Definitely.
uh, we have the immune system is consistent, and I will just go or stick to certain parts of it. The
Mhm.
tonsils, for example, the thymus gland, which is at more or less at the sternum, more or less. It goes as when we age, it shrinks, unfortunately. The lymph nodes, the lymphatic vessels, and there are many of it. The spleen, the patches in the small intestines, and even if you don't think so, the appendicitis or appendix is part of it, also, and the bone marrow. And last but not least, our bowels. There is where we can talk about the microbiome. This is the entire one. We do get our immunity. We inherit it from our mother. Okay, because also the mitochondria we get it from our mothers. It's called maternal passive immunity. This is when we get born, and we get also afterwards milk if we are lucky, and that is called the colostrum. It's actually the best immune to improve the immune system for a baby, and also for later on. Because if I get here too specific, we will be here until next year, and I don't want
Exactly.
that. But just so people understand, we get it from our mothers. It's called the maternal passive immunity. Then it's called the acquired one because we improve, of course. We boost ourselves. I was letting my children playing in the playground. They were eating the sand. I didn't go, nuts because of that, but it strengthened their immune system. And
Mhm.
nowadays I can say, well, thanks God. Also, I was breastfeeding them for quite a long time, and it helped them to improve really their immunity, because
Yeah.
the immune system are like 100,000 soldiers or the 1 million soldiers, and they fight against whatever it's these antibodies, the attackers and foreign I said them bacteria, viruses, and whatever, and the fight against it. And if you don't have a low immune system, there are perhaps from the 1 million, there are perhaps only 100,000 soldiers left. So how is the body supposed to work properly? It can't. It's impossible. You get, of course, very weak. You can get even depressed, and many other symptoms. But we talk here about symptoms, but I usually tend to look for the cause. Okay, this is just an overview about the immune
Yes.
system. And the lymph nodes, of course, they are filters, and they are very small nodes. They have oval structures that can be anywhere from 1 millimeter to 25 millimeter. There are blood vessels and nerves attached to it. I talk about the lymph nodes because it's very important about the T and the B cells. These are the ones that normally they are the big eaters, and they can destroy many things. But the T cells and B cells are very important. The B cells they multiply to fight off infection normally, and in other part of the lymph node there are mostly these T cells. Just so people get a little bit an idea what we are talking about. If you
That's
want,
helpful. Yeah. I hear a lot about T cells, but I've never I don't think I've ever really had too much like discussion about P cells. So that's specifically infections. I didn't know that.
yeah, then the lymph nodes are found in regions such as the base of the neck, the armpit, and the groin. These are most the located. Swelling or inflammation of these nodes is usually in response to an infection in one or the areas that is drained by the lymph node. This is often what is meant when someone says that they have swollen glands. Okay, so the lymph nodes are very important. Also a lymph drainage, how we call it, we will show it afterwards, where they are, how to get rid of also too much water, excessive water in the body, because mostly it's the legs that get really swollen, and the feet. Then we have the thymus. Is a lymphoid organ located in the lower part of the neck, or actually in the front of the chest. The thymus and the liver, they round out the fortification of our defense system against bacteria and viruses. The thymus gland has a major role in fighting infections, but as I said, it shrinks when we get older, and you can even tap on it. It will help. I know it sounds crazy, but you can activate it to say, hello, are you still there? Thymus gland, hello. To activate
Is that here or
more or less it's here.
here? Okay. That's where I first started off. Okay.
Yeah. Then the spleen is very important too, because the spleen is the largest of the lymphoid organs. It's actually also partially a gland. It's not organ. Okay, so the spleen is like security guard. Say I say it all on purpose. A security guard for the body, letting healthy blood cells pass through it and stopping unhealthy ones in their tracks. The spleen, if you have I have somebody that I know, she had a car accident, and the spleen got really bad, and she could have died because of that, internal bleeding. But you can live without the spleen, but there is you have to be careful afterwards with
Blood cells.
a bit of the blood cells and you name it, and also with what you eat, the food that you take. Okay, so the spleen is located can I say it? Sorry. The spleen is located more or less behind on the left hand side, so you understand it better. It's actually behind the stomach, to say it very simple, behind the stomach, in front of the diaphragm, if you want so. The diaphragm is the muscle that we use for breathing. Okay, it's not only the lungs, because also is, many people don't even know that we have a diaphragm. And next to the left kidney, seen from your side, okay, from the patient side, all the time. So there is a red pulp, it's called. It's named because of its color, and its role is to filter the blood. See it as very important organ or partially gland, the spleen. Then we have also, it's working together with the liver, by the way, okay? It's not only spleen, because the liver is our biggest internal organ, the most important one, and has more than 500 functions, our liver. And by the way, also, our liver is connected directly to our heart through the inferior vena cava. And if you have I don't know, if you also know somebody that has issues with the heart, it's not always the lungs. And that drives me half mad because normally in medical school or what, or even in hospitals or a normal doctor, they don't think further. And I don't want to make my doctor fellows bad or look bad, for God's sake. But most doctors don't look also at the liver in case of heart issues. They just look at the lungs and that's it. And I find that not so correct. Okay, so yeah, I'm a little bit mad about things like that because you have to look the entire body. You don't have to look just one part, lung and heart, and that's it. Look, please, also at the liver because the liver is so important. So yeah. Then we have, I want to mention also about Hashimoto disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and this has also to do with the immune system. It's not only these conditions, they have not only just to do with hormone imbalance, because that means that the autoimmune system is damaged somewhere. There are so many conditions. The cause of low immunity is not only the genetic part, because even if you have inherited from your mother, your grandmother, whoever in the family, in the lineage, you are still you. Depends what lifestyle you have, and it can get triggered, but also it doesn't mean it doesn't have to. But the most infamous and very bad guy is stress. That means high cortisol, and that can cause so many disruptions in the body. Cortisol, yes, it can help in a certain amount that you don't get inflamed or inflammation. But if you have you're always under stress, psychological, physical, you name it, you have a high cortisol, and it can cause poor mental health, anxiety, negative emotions, unworthiness, guilt, anger, envy, you name it. Air pollution also. You can get attacked by everything. And who suffers besides the internal body, but the most it suffers are the adrenal glands. They say, I'm out of order. I can't work anymore. I'm done. I can't take this anymore. Either you come down or I will trigger more upside down. Also, I would make the body more upset than before. So it's very, very important to look at the whole picture. It's not only, yes, immune system, but the immune system gets attacked by our emotion and stress. This is really the worst enemy that you can get is high cortisol. I don't know if you have questions, because immune system and the adrenals, believe me, they go out of order.
Absolutely. I mean, I do have some questions. I wrote down a lot of notes and stuff. And I'm curious because you did mention Hashimoto, and also I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm glad you mentioned the heart and liver issue because you told me about that with one of your colleagues, and I did want to ask you at one point to mention that. So I think that's great. Since you did mention Hashimoto and stuff, and that's something that I think is really important. A lot of people do know about it as like a thyroid hormone irregulator. And as someone who's been diagnosed with endometriosis, for those of you guys who don't know, it's a reproductive disorder that causes really excruciating menstrual cramps, fertility issues. There's cell growth that occurs outside of my reproductive organs. And I have like heavy periods, and I had like a cyst, and I had to get like things like removed. And oftentimes it is some of it is like it causes like hormonal imbalances. And so Hashimoto is one of the things they always look at the thyroid. And I don't think they've ever really mentioned the immune system being damaged and stuff like that. And there's so many different ways that this can manifest. But since you did mention Hashimoto, can you also tell us like the emotional, psychological, spiritual root causes behind that?
First, I want to mention the medical side,
Okay.
Jaymie, because we tend, as I said before, to look the body in parts. Okay, this is
Yeah,
the
that's true.
head, the face, fine, this is the neck,
Yeah,
and so forth.
you still have like 4 more sections to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, it's here. The thyroid, it has a shape like a butterfly. But to what is the butterfly, or actually the thyroid, connected to? It's connected to the adrenal glands. Okay. But who is the boss of the thyroid? It's the hypothalamus. We have to look also at the hypothalamus. It's not only the thyroid. If you remember, Jaymie, I wrote you that we have all these tests, these different beautiful numbers and values, and you name it. Okay, that doesn't help at all, because we looked at one part of the whole system. You can have, I don't know what, out of order, or also the myth with the cholesterol, high cholesterol, LDL and HDL. Please give me a break. You have to look at everything. That means if the thyroid is not functioning properly, it must be not only a hormonal imbalance, but something also with, did you have a trauma with the head? It can be so many things, but also too much stress, because the adrenal glands, they are the ones that respond first. And if you have it, your thyroid won't function properly, because we always look at the endocrine system. It's not only the endocrine system, everything is interconnected. This is what I hope the people understand. And also these beautiful values, that is fine, we can read them. But what is with the rest of the body? Have you had a trauma? Did you have, I don't know, something really bad that happened in your life? Or did you have an accident? I'm just saying, the spiritual meaning also depends on which, of course, but most of the time it's the people don't get with the adrenals. They don't want to let go of something. They are scared to try something new. They feel them so much imbalance with themselves, because we don't have to forget, Jaymie, it's our responsibility. It is our physical bodies, the only one we've got, and we have to honor it. This is our temple. So if I eat, I have told you last time, I know I should not eat anything that is fried.
Yeah.
Fine. But when I want my chips, potato chips, because my liver says, no, 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 you should not. But I say, yes, 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 I want my potato chips. So I eat my potato chips. I had hepatitis, that's why, when I was a child. So I eat my potato chips, and afterwards I start to going half nuts because I have pain. But it's my own fault, because I decided, not the chips. So it's my responsibility. I say, okay, you're freaking nuts, you should not eat, and you know it, but I have done it still. And I mean, I should know better. So, but it's my responsibility. I have taken the decision to eat the potato chips. And people should understand, whatever you put in your mouth, it's your own responsibility. Please don't say, well, it's because of my grandmother and because it's inherited. This is all BS. It's your own responsibility because your grandmother is not you. You are a very small, tiny part of your grandmother. Because I have patients that they find always excuses not to take the responsibility. I told you also last time, I had a woman. I was looking at her values. And this woman, I said, you are in a pre-diabetic state. Please be careful because diabetes, it's even worse than cancer because it damages everything in the body. Everything. And
Oh, yeah.
and she said to me, oh my God, I can't eat my biscuits anymore. I said, yes, you shouldn't. And she said, well, I can't do that. I said, okay, then you will get diabetes and you will get really bad with time because diabetes is not to play around with. Please, if you know in advance, start to work on it. You can eat everything, a little bit from everything, but you can't just eat the entire day just biscuits, cookies. So it's her responsibility. I know, not from her, from other people, that this woman is now a diabetic. And it's not fun.
Yeah.
So it's, please, audience, Jaymie's audience, be
And yours.
careful that you have, it's your body, it's holy, it's our temple, honor it. And if you have to change your lifestyle, then you have, it's better to prevent instead to fix afterwards. This is it gets chronic, and it's very difficult to help a person which has already a chronic issue. And I prefer that it's acute, that I can handle it better, but not chronic. It's very difficult. So I want to say to also to help the adrenal glands and also food or compounds that to actually strengthen. But this is just very general, okay? I am not going in really into depth. For adrenal glands, please consider vitamin B6. Because vitamin B6 on its own, okay? I take it daily, 300 milligrams, when I don't forget. And this is also good for your nervous system. It strengthens the nervous system. And it strengthens especially the adrenals. Because we women, we have it, we are attacked. We have so many things to do during the day. We have 10 different tasks that we should have finished already yesterday, but we didn't do it because it's almost impossible. The day has 24 hours, and sometimes we have to sleep. So we are sleep deprived. But
not sometimes. We're not all Aries rising sun. A lot of us have to sleep. Sorry.
No, I feel it too, Jaymie. Don't think because I'm a double Aries that I don't feel it. I am getting older too, so I'm when I have done so many things during the day, then I really feel it at night. I'm no longer 20, so this comes for everybody. I'm just human too. So food that can boost or compounds that can boost your immune system. It's curd, spinach, green tea. I take as green tea. Actually, it's called gunpowder, sweet potato, garlic. Please, on a side note, people that have a low blood pressure should not eat too much garlic because it lowers the blood pressure. I have the same problem. I can eat very little garlic, but I would have liked to eat more. I can't. Pomegranate juice, ginger. Be careful with the label of organic. Don't trust it, really. It's better if you have it from your own garden. Very, very important vitamin, because actually vitamin D3 is not a vitamin. It gets
Hormone.
it's a hormone, okay? With K2, it's better to combine it. I take Panax ginseng. It's very good also for the immune system, but also
What is it called?
Panax ginseng.
Okay.
It's very expensive, I have to say that too, because I give to my patient, I do my own capsules and I mix Panax ginseng, but it's very, very expensive already when I buy it. Very important also, I have my one I got from, I buy always from Finland. And the university is giving as well the certification that it has no pesticides, whatever. I want the certification to know, I mean, from the lab, what has been tested, okay? Because there's a lot, you can buy it from Asia, but I don't trust it because there are too many pesticides. It's called chaga mushroom.
Yes.
The chaga is very, very important for the immune system, and not only for the immune system. Acetopanax ginseng, vitamin D, spirulina. Astragalus also is mushroom. And resveratrol, but this is just to name a few because there are many more. But chaga is very, very, very important. I make it as powder, as a compound. I make capsules. You can have it also as a tea, but you have to drink it very often. This it really strengthens the immune system.
I love chaga. You recommended that for me,
Yes.
and that significantly helped with like my period, my overall health. I mean, it's just great.
Try to incorporate these things, even if it's on a daily basis. Because green tea, I take gunpowder green tea, and is full of antioxidants too. So that means really it can strengthen your immune system.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not like you have to take all of these, like, you know, like not like green tea and chaga and spirulina and astragalus, you know, like the thing that's really beautiful and something that I had to kind of learn, and I don't want to get into it too deep right now, because I know you have like 4 more things to talk about in the immune system. But just so that you guys aren't feeling overwhelmed and discouraged, like Western medicine makes it seem like even when you try to take a holistic approach, they're like, oh, you have this issue. Here are the natural herbs and supplements you can take. And they like throw at you so many different things. It's expensive, it's demanding. And like, honestly, I've had like, Ayurvedic practitioners and acupuncturists tell me like, yeah, technically all of these supplements do help, but they don't work in synergy. When you really like figure out what's best for you, like nature isn't demanding. You don't have to sit there and take all these different things. And that's the beauty of when you get to the root of it, is that it's kind of like with like acupuncture, like the best acupuncturist uses less needles. Some of the best treatments, you don't need to take a gazillion different things. Like it's so much better. And I remember I reached out to you and I was like, I have Uranus in my 6th house. I was like, I don't really do well with a lot of like routines. And that's because in my mind, I was like, she's going to give me like 20 different things to do. Not at all, you guys. So don't feel bad. Like this is literally, people I think get scared of going to the root of the problem because they're like, people think like, well, I'm just working on my physical health. So if I get to the root, it's going to be too demanding. It's not, it's the opposite.
Jaymie, less is more. I mentioned on purpose vitamin B6 because vitamin B6 works on very different levels, on many different levels. And also, beside the immune system, it's very, very important that we strengthen our nervous system. Our head is a control tower. I say that all the time. It's the mastermind, because it's regulating everything in the body. Without the brain, that's it, you're not functioning properly. The heart, yes, it's beating by itself because of the autonomous nervous system. But we have from outside so many stimuli. Our nerves, sooner or later, they can't take it. It's just so much, and you have a nervous breakdown. Beside the adrenal glands to say, hello, I am done. I don't work anymore, or you do something, or I will collapse. Then you land in hospital. I'm just saying this is a little bit over dramatic, but I try to explain what happens in our body because I teach biochemistry. I had to take lessons myself from a doctor of biochemistry because it's not part of the study, medical study, to go
That
really
makes a
deep.
lot of sense. Yeah.
When you understand, I call actually my medicine biochemical medicine because everything starts at the biochemical level. Everything is the enzymes, the vitamins, you name it. Everything it's working with each other. I mean, even if we take a car, for example, yeah, of course it has wheels and so forth. The heart is the engine. The blood would be the oil. If it doesn't have any oil, the car won't really work. Or it needs fuel. We need fuel too when we eat, but it depends what we eat. You can eat 20 times a day, but please try to eat quality food, especially nowadays. And you have in the States different laws. We have many things that we are not allowed by law to have it in the food industry. Okay, so you have to be very careful what you take, what your intake is. Okay, so it's so complex, but we keep it simple.
Yes, definitely.
Then we had the emphasis on detox. That is very important beside the immune system.
But can you also tell us about the appendix, bone marrow, and bowels?
Well, the bowels, of course. The bone marrow, it's the cells are produced in the bone marrow. T cells and B cells. The appendix, it's actually useless if you want to. It's part of the immune system, but we don't learn about it very much in med school. I have to say the honest truth. I don't even remember exactly. I remember that it's part of the immune system, but I don't remember the role that has in it because it's useless. The appendix. Actually, we don't really need it. Perhaps when we were not so evolved like Homo sapiens as we are nowadays, it was playing a major role. Okay, like the amygdala, for example, that it's what more than the third eye was actually outside of the brain. But this is another story. Of course, the bone marrow is very important because people that have leukemia, they have issues with the bone marrow, with the blood. The cells are getting, the good cells are getting produced. That is very, very important. And the bowels, that is very important because of the microbiome. I keep it also simple. We have the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. And also a factor that not many people talk about it is the so-called vagus nerve. The vagal nerve that goes down is the wandering nerve, the longest one that we have in our body. And excuse me, I explain it this way. The vagus nerve is just behind our ears. You can massage it yourself when you feel also very uncomfortable, that anxiety and so on. Why? It's the longest nerve, as I said. And the vagus, it's our 10th cranial nerve. It sends 10% of information from our head or from the brain down to the bowel. And talks there with the bacteria. Say, hello, bacteria. How many are there? It's more bad bacteria or more good bacteria. If you have more bad bacteria, 90% of the information goes back to the head. And so many people have like fog, they are depressed, and they have this, and they are phlegmatic because 90% what comes from the bowels comes up to the brain. So the vagus nerve is one of the most important nerves that we have in the body. And you can massage it yourself very gently. I do it also when I don't forget. you can reach it up to here, because afterwards it disappears. You can't touch it anymore. But here, even if you do it 5 minutes a day in circular motion, it helps you with your guts, because it's really connected
Ooh. As a
directly to.
Cancer rising, I need to
Yes,
add this as 5 minutes a day into my
yes,
regimen.
yes, because it's not only the cancer, is the stomach, it's the breast,
100%, yeah.
is part of the ribs, and absorption, especially absorption. But if you can integrate it daily, like when you do, many people do yoga nowadays, or you meditate, whatever, it actually pleases you or works for you, because there is no magic, how shall I say, that you have to do yoga and you have to do, no, that what works for you specifically.
Mhm.
Because for
So,
another person that won't work yoga.
yeah. So this massage, will it work even if I'm laying down in bed, or do I have to be sitting up?
No, it works. You can be sitting, you can be walking.
Yay.
It's important that you do it daily, and it
Mhm.
goes up to here more or less. And then afterwards you
Oh,
can't reach it anymore, because it goes inside. It's hidden. Can't reach it.
okay.
But this is already enough. If you do it gently, don't press too hard that it's hurting. But you can actually feel it under your fingers there, the buggles. And that really
Mhm.
helps you. Also, when you have headaches, if you feel anxious, and if you feel out of whack, I always look also at the buggles. When I do the anamnesis with my patients in my practice, because I left the so-called system, and I do integrate Western medicine with Ayurveda, and we call it holistic, but it's integrative medicine, which what I do.
Mhm.
And I want to prevent that something happens. If you,
Yes.
so the vagus nerve is very, very important as part for our immunity, but well-being in general. Okay.
Definitely. So this is all really important because now we have like an overall of like the 8 different parts where like our immune system is coming up, like related, and pretty much like you said, most of us know it mostly just from our bowels, and everything is split up, so I've always heard of like tonsils as like, oh, when you're a kid you get it out, and like certain things are related to hormones. They don't necessarily tell you the connection of it, and
No.
that's so important. And something you said made me think something, and I wanted to know if this is true. And
Okay.
obviously, I want to be really clear, like in a world with billions and billions of people, like I'm not going to say what does and won't work for everyone. Some people are going to need prescription medication, some people don't. I just think it's the overuse, the misuse, not knowing enough about what else is out there. And when you were talking about,
Jaymie, sorry that I interrupt, because it
okay.
came just straightforward in my head. It's the interaction of
Yeah.
medication. Also, it's absolutely ridiculous. It drives me mad. You cannot take magnesium and calcium together. They annihilate
Cancel
one
each other out.
another. You cannot. They're both plus pole, and they
Mhm.
annihilate one another. So take magnesium first, and 5 hours later you take calcium. But they don't tell you.
Oh, it's 5 hours later. I was told it was 2 hours later. It's
Take it
5 hours?
I usually say to people, take it 5, but they sell it to the layman. They combine these you can throw it out the window. It's better just throw it into the toilet and flush it 5 times, please.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you at all. It's money out the window. That's why I'm concentrated on biochemistry. Also, how to take medication, which vitamins can you combine and which you should not combine.
Yeah. I know I've learned a lot about that stuff, but I was told it was every 2 hours. So I'm like, I'm glad you told me it's every 5 hours.
I
But
give it
that's
right.
why like getting to like the root is so important, because sometimes like if you have all these health issues, you can't feasibly spread everything out, like it's just. But one thing I was quite curious about is, when you were talking about how with the vagus nerve being the longest nerve and how it communicates with your brain. So it's like it going to your bowels, like if you have all that bad bacteria, it goes up to your head and that can lead to depression. that kind of got me wondering, because the first thought that came to me is that, you know, some people, when they have depression, they take like prescription medication. And I'm not saying to not take it. That's not what this is about. But it's like, it's not necessarily going to be effective if you're still like, you're getting like all this bad gut, like, I mean, bad bacteria going to your gut. Like, you know, it made me think the importance of like detoxing to get rid of the toxins that are causing the depression, that even requires you to take the medication in the first place, and also to make to make whatever you're doing to treat the depression to be more effective. Because, you know, like, you're going to have other problems outside of just depression if, you know, you have bad gut going to your brain, like.
Well, Jaymie, this is very complex to answer, because when people have depressions, usually they get antidepressants to block some neurons in the brain that they can talk to each other, or they get more serotonin, and you name it. It's counterproductive. If they have to take it, disclaimer, big disclaimer. Yes, I'm a medical doctor, but disclaimer, because everybody has a different reaction.
Yeah.
And you don't know also what other medication these people take. They can take anything, but also the interaction between these medications can cause anxiety too.
Yeah.
So it would make sense if some medical doctors would use common sense and be open for more other alternatives to combine them together. It would help them more, because these people, and I know many of them that take antidepressants, that they don't help. So I know somebody that landed in psychiatry, then they get sedated. It's absolutely awful.
Yeah.
So if people are open enough, but I guess that most doctors, they just want to give these patients here, you have your medication, take it, and give and just good luck. It doesn't depend only on the patient, because the patient says, okay, I have been taking this medication since I don't know how long, and they themselves should be open for different alternatives. There are alternatives. And detoxing, because we are full of poison. Also, the dendrites in the brain, they are full of poison. It's from outside, it's from everything.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important, because as I was telling you in our last discussion, you can have a cup, like this cup of coffee.
Yes.
Cup of coffee. If I carry on pulling in coffee or whatever in my cup, and say hello, it's sooner or later will spill over. If you want that you remain healthy or you become healthy, you have to do a detox. You have to give the body the possibility to detoxify all these toxins, because they can be everywhere, the toxins. And that's why most people are they have a lot of fatigue, mental fatigue. They have lost the stamina. It's because of too much poison in the body. I tell you. And also the liver, for example, in detoxing plays a key role. As I said before, the liver has more than 500 different functions. It's our biggest internal organ, and is absolutely is the first responder, because everything goes first through the liver, and then afterwards to the stomach, and you name it. But the liver is the first responder. Very, very, very important.
That's interesting, because a lot of times when people have like digestive issues, they start to detox the intestines. And I'm not saying that's not important, but if the liver isn't working right, it's only going to go so far.
Yeah. You have to detox the liver. The liver is I said, every poison, everything that you eat, everything that you drink goes first through the liver. Then the gallbladder, pancreas, and this is like a trio. These work three together, with the spleen actually four. But if have also fatty liver, and the fatty liver doesn't come only because people drink alcohol, because of the food. And if the liver doesn't function properly, all the rest will not function.
This is so helpful because I think part of the reason why I used to be so overwhelmed and hesitant about detoxing is there's this paradox of choice. And I'm like, I don't know where to start. It's so overwhelming. So it's like liver is really important. It's the first responder. And then it works in unison with gallbladder, pancreas, and spleen, which
Yeah.
is interesting because I've seen detox products for gallbladder, pancreas, and spleen, but it's not nearly as like available as like liver and small intestine or gut health, you know, and it's like, and those are pretty important. So that's really good to know.
I have 3 products which I mainly use, or
Ooh, tell us.
I tell people for detox.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about intermittent fasting and stuff like that, okay? Because it does not work for everybody. I have a friend of mine, she did it. She said, I want to give it a try. I said, don't, please don't, because I'm not sure if it really helps you. We should look another alternative for you. She did it. She got,
Ooh,
I tell you, horrendous stuff. So it doesn't work for everybody. And
yeah.
what we say also, you have to try yourself on your body, because for you, Jaymie, can work. For me, it doesn't. I'm just saying,
I
use
don't
your
think the fasting
discernment.
life is for me.
No, I'm just saying. I have alternatives. One is fulvic acid.
Okay.
Here is a brief introduction, because otherwise you don't know what it is. You don't
Mhm.
even hear it often. Fulvic acid. Uh, mm, it's in medical use, okay? It is a compound, and its significance in the pharmaceutical industry is also very important. It has excellent benefits for your health in general, but its rarity makes easy availability actually a little bit an issue, but you can find it, by the way. It's not that you can't find it. This is Humic acid is a family of acids and compound of humus. These share many similarities to humic acids in general. The only thing that makes this different is carbon and oxygen content. There are also some differences in acidity, but it's very important. The fulvic acid remains in solution even if the humic acid is removed. So it's working. I use it against anti-inflammation. It's antiviral. Okay, influenza, HIV, herpes virus. Also, you can use it or against it. It helps in the detoxification, as I said. It does remove odor reduction. It's actually it's reducing the ammonia that we have also
Ooh.
in the body. It,
Mhm.
it it does improve nitrogen to phosphorus ratio in the waste. It's really helping to get rid of toxic minerals in the body and toxic waste. I can't say it differently. And good for the liver because it's helping sustaining the liver. It's not only the artichokes, the usual things that we know. This goes deeper for the liver, because we have to detox the liver first, okay?
Yay, I'm so happy to learn that.
It does also, the longer term use of this acid stimulates ornithine and decarboxylases. I say it as in German. Improves the DNA and the RNA levels too. It's not only just good for liver and that's it.
Mhm.
Then we have what I also give to patients is, you know it yourself, zeolite.
Yes.
Zeolite is very important. And if you do the detox, you have is bile salt. But when you do the detoxification, I say do it for 3 days. It goes always on number 3, okay? 3 days. You have to eat very, very light. But you have to get still salt into your body, because salt is very important. We cannot survive without salt. I mean, you don't eat 100 or 1 kilo of salt a day, okay? Broth, for example. But and eat very, very light, so the liver can it's like we give like a stimuli to the liver to work better, to work faster, to get the detox. Okay. If you take bile salt and detoxing in general, also this fulvic acid and zeolite, because zeolite works like a magnet. Every toxin, it's really sucking it. It's actually a mineral, a volcanic mineral. I get my one from Germany. It's very, very good. And these 3, bile salt, and you have to really eat very, very low in that sense. Don't eat anything that is heavy, because otherwise you disturb again, and beside the digestion, but to get rid of the toxins in the body. Okay.
This is really helpful. I'm super excited. That was like one of my favorite things about what I was looking forward to that you specifically recommend, because there's all these different recommendations. They talk about how great it is. And then next thing you know, they start talking about like there's some other contradiction or something that says, well, this is good, but it'll be better to do this instead. And I'm just like, well, which one is it? So this one is really getting to the source. I do have a question about this because so I first learned about zeolite, and I'm going to write all of this down so you guys are aware, but I know you were mentioning that there's 40 different types. So the one that you specifically recommended is, I don't know how clear it's going to be for people who hear it. It's the clinoptilolite.
That is the one that you can use. You can give it to animals. You can give it even to the plants, because the other ones will not get absorbed and have they can get poisonous.
Yeah. So, and I have heard things about that. Some people getting really sick, and they wasn't that specific one. Now, my question is, because I found out about zeolite because I have a friend who's a doctor and she just discovered this. And so she uses a specific supplement that actually it has a combination of fulvic acid and zeolite. And it comes in 2 formulations. It's in a spray and a dropper. One is supposed to work on a cellular level, and one is digest through your digestion. And I wanted to know, is that redundant? Should they both be used together, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have patients even in my family. They for example, if you take a capsule or a tablet, okay, it takes longer to be digested and to get it to the bloodstream. If you get it spray or with a pipette, that is actually drops, okay? It goes much faster into the bloodstream. It bypasses many sectors in the body. I don't care for myself, but I have many people that they say, well, I can't swallow it. It's much too big for me. So it goes faster if you have the liquid version, for example.
Do you think taking both the spray and the drops are redundant, or we can do both at the same time? Okay, great. Yeah, I was so like fascinated when I discovered this, because my friend, she's an ADHD coach, and that's how she discovered it. And I mean, there's so many different things. Like, even though our body has the ability to detox, the nature of the reality is the world is so toxic that like we need a little bit more help than the way our body is physically able to detox and stuff. So with this one, there was just so many research done on like ADHD symptoms, autistic symptoms, depression, all these like stuff. And even though
toxin,
yeah, and even though like, and this is the specific product that I'm talking about that has the combination of the fulvic acid and the zeolite, and it's not designed to be a parasite cleanse. Like, basically, from what I understand about it, like a lot of our infections, bacteria, viruses, parasites, they hide in our heavy metal because that's harder for our body to detox, and that's where the zeolite is like a magnet, and it gets rid of it. And so that's why there's so many different things where it's like, I have these digestive issues, and you take all this stuff, And it's like, you know, it only goes so far because we're not getting rid of the heavy metal. And so when it gets rid of the heavy metal, even though it's not a parasite cleanse, if you have infections that aren't microscopic, like you see these gnarly like stuff come out in your stool and stuff. And I just find it to be so fascinating. And it's one of those things where it's like it helps so many different things on so many different levels. And it's so much easier to just spray or do a dropper than take like a gazillion different things. And this is what we mean when we say like you have to get to the root of it. It's actually a lot more efficient. The body works more like naturally and streamlines into the healing process.
Well,
It's just,
less is more, because we
yes.
have already, you have to imagine, as I was talking before, the cup is full.
Mm-hmm.
You will not get healthy if you stuff your body with 15 different medication, or you take this and that. It does not help, because also the body will not absorb it. It
Yeah.
will not.
And that's where for me, I really like the cup metaphor, because it's like a lot of times people are like, so I'm going to take a little bit of a moment real fast, you guys, and I want to create a little bit of a mindset shift, because and I say this as an American person, you know, like I'm talking about like, you know, my country and like what I understand, but it's like there's so much social conditioning and unlearning and relearning you have to do, because like oftentimes the biggest thing that I've seen when it comes to health issues is people, when it comes to addressing the emotional, psychological, spiritual, and going to the root cause, they're like, oh, that's not going to help because my condition is too chronic. And it's like, well, actually, that's why it makes it more
No,
important,
exactly.
you know, because it's like, if you just have like, first of all, if you're having like a chronic health issue, your body is physically resistant. The physical approach is still important, but there's more resistance. So you have to find other avenues, other ways that's going to, you know, like facilitate the healing. And honestly, in my experience, when I've had like physical ailments that were like minor and like less severe, taking the physical approach was adequate. But when it's chronic, you have to look at the other stuff. And oftentimes I hear people say like, oh, it's not effective enough because it's, you know, my situation is too chronic. But it's like, even if you have surgery or you have something, and I say this as someone who's been diagnosed with endometriosis, and I pushed this narrative too once upon a time. And I used to think like, no, my situation is too severe. And so it's like, okay, yes. And I'm not saying that like for me, the surgery was like extremely beneficial. I have things in my chart that also shows that it supports me. It indirectly healed like my trauma is like related to my mom. That's a whole other thing. But it's like, you know, removing the cell growth and the problem, if you don't get to the root cause, it's just going to regenerate. It's going to restart all over again,
Absolutely.
you know, and
Absolutely, Jaymie.
just, it's so
Because
frustrating. So it's like people sit there and say, oh, I'm just going to like do this surgery and eat healthy. But using that cup analogy, if all you do is eat healthy, eat healthy, eat healthy and stuff, but you have all this toxin, it's not going to like penetrate the health. You need to get rid of this stuff too.
the thing, that's why I have also written about the spiritual meaning. What
Mm-hmm.
is behind? Okay, we have the diagnosis, say so, because we humans will label everything, okay? But at least we know what we are talking about.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend time, you know, the 150 different symptoms is fine, doesn't mean anything at all. What is the cause? That is important. We have to address
Yeah.
and work on the cause. So
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual meaning, and most people then say, ah, it doesn't work, it's bullshit. Sorry, my term.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Such
Because
crap.
it's a lot of work. You have it's hurting. It will hurt because you have to take yourself apart.
You have to
And
face
don't
some
forget,
shit you've been scared of.
yes. And don't forget, because sometimes it drives me also a little bit out of, you know, it makes me angry. Oh, I'm going for a holiday and then I feel much better. Hello? You take yourself everywhere you go. You can be at the
Mhm.
beach in a beautiful Bahamas
Your
for
problems will still follow you.
exactly. So even if we have to face a certain problem or a situation, it will hurt. And
Yeah.
that's the hurt afterwards. Most people, we have all gone through traumas, all of us. Each one of us had, in one way or the other. Okay, we are humans. We are not robots. And the one that is perhaps stronger in character will react in a different way, as the one that is perhaps more sensitive. Okay, we have to consider all aspects. But the spiritual meaning of a certain ailment, I think it's important to show, hello, Jaymie, I found out this. Look, you have to work if you want to, but this is what I suggest, or what it could mean, your condition. And each condition is different. For example, people that have bladder or kidney issues, they have also problems with the partner. It's not Pluto. It's the kidneys and the bladder, okay? It's because it's also part of it. I'm just saying, this is the spiritual meaning as well. The kidney as such, only the kidney is something else. It goes even more deep. But say if somebody has problems with the bladder, most of the time it's as a partner issues. I'm just saying, emotional, psychological, and we tend to say, well, it's not important, it will pass.
So I'm gonna briefly share my story as an example to kind of give you guys like an idea of this, right? And here's the other thing, and I think people don't think about this. When we're experiencing a chronic health issue, which I did with endometriosis, I was stage 4 and I've had a lot of issues. And part of it was that like I genuinely didn't have the knowledge that I have now. I didn't know that like the physical body is a message like telling me this is what you need to emotionally, psychologically, spiritually work on. I didn't understand the translation. I didn't know what it was saying to me and stuff like that. And then when you're in chronic pain, you normalize literally being in pain and being in survival, and you learn to function. So you don't realize like, okay, when you're in that state, you're in a survival mode, you're less than a growth mindset, right? So when people are sitting there saying like, oh, I'm not going to deal with emotional, psychological, spiritual, it's not going to be important, it's not so this, I don't want to like discourage, like I don't want to hurt your feelings, but just so you know, like when you're in a state of survival and you're in a fixed mindset, with respect, you are not in the most reliable solution oriented mindset that you are in. And the like our nervous system and like the reptilian part of our brain is like everything we've done so far has kept us alive, so we're going to keep doing it. So even when something is better for us and we need it because it's healthier, it's so different because we're in survival mode. We're so scared of doing something different because we're like, if something is different, this could be a threat. Literally, the more you think, the more you resist, that's actually a compass and an indicator. That's probably something that you should be doing that could actually be helping you. So that's the first thing that I want to say, is that like that resistance is literally the what you need to be working on. And but like also be gentle with yourself, because your nervous system is gonna like freak out. And that's, you know, unfortunately, as far as at least the way I went through it, it was a little bit like overwhelming for me because it got to be so severe. So it's like the idea that like healing had there was like this trauma or this fear that I had with it. But the first thing is that like, I'm not saying like don't rely on your judgment, but also realize that like until you get into a growth mindset, you're not really seeing things in the most holistic and beneficial way. So that's the first thing. And then for me with endometriosis, this is a reproductive disorder. And so this is the sacral chakra. So this is about your manifestation. It's about giving birth to things. And this can be kids, this can be your dreams, you know, it can be different layers. And at the time, I wasn't experiencing the kind of life that I wanted. I wasn't happy with my job. I felt really trapped. I wasn't happy in the relationship that I was in. The guy was a great guy and we're still really good friends, but I had a lot of insecurities. So I wasn't able to enjoy myself in that relationship. And I wasn't happy with my job, where I was living, just basically the life that I had. And also for me personally, I was also having to like reconcile. I'm like, okay, this is a great guy, but I'm not able to enjoy the relationship because of the state of mind that I'm in. And deep down, I knew he wasn't the right person for me, all the while having premonitions of our unborn children. So it was like, kind of like, I'm like, well, I don't want this relationship to work, but I also, and I don't want to have kids, but I also don't want to be without these kids. It was a hot mess, you guys. But eventually, and I was all the while having like these health issues. And a lot of the doctors eventually thought I was a hypochondriac. So I couldn't even schedule an appointment. Like they would cancel it. And when I finally got to meet a doctor who actually I met through someone in France, a doctor in France who literally was like, go see this person. That doctor admitted to me, oh yeah, you've been kind of blacklisted in the medical community. Like everybody thinks that you have a hypochondriac, so they won't even see you. That's why my appointments kept getting canceled. It was insane. And the reason being is I had a pain and I would tell them about it. And they were like, there's no organ there. So you're imagining it. Meanwhile, my cyst was like way like bigger than it was supposed to be. It moved everything out of alignment, which by the way, a lot of times like organs are not where they're supposed to be due to trauma, falling, just all these crazy things. So I think it's so ridiculous that they're like, there's no organ there, so we're gonna assume you're delusionary when you know that organs move around. I'm like, really? Like that's ridiculous. So, but I was in a state where I honestly wanted to be validated by the medical community because I felt crazy. So I didn't focus on the root cause of it. And so it kind of escalated the situation. Whereas, and I also believe that when it comes to health issues, so this is the endometriosis, right? Like I feel like before I had the diagnosis, my body was going in this direction, telling me like, hey, like, these are the symptoms that are very similar to endometriosis. And if you don't reroute, if you don't make these changes, you're gonna contract this diagnosis, which is what happened for me. And I feel like if I had done things differently, I could have had those symptoms, but I could have like prevented actually getting that title, so to speak. So this is really a message for some of you guys. If you've been, operating out of ego and you've been hurt and you just want to be validated by the medical community, like let that go and stuff and just start to understand like, okay, what are the root causes? And so with endometriosis, this could be a fear of children, fear of being trapped, being unhappy about not having the kind of life that you want, like you're not giving birth to the kind of things that you want. And you're like, there's insecurities and things of that nature. And it's interesting because in the reading, you mentioned like specifically like a cyst on my left ovary. It was very specific. And you wrote in parentheses like psychosomatic. And at the time, I was dating an acupuncturist who was like, this is psychosomatic in nature. And I was so mad. I was in my 20s and I was like, how dare you're a man? You don't understand the pain. And I mean, he didn't, but he wasn't wrong either, right? And so I really had to get to the root of it. And the thing is, like, I resisted so much exploring these other things because here's the thing. A lot of times people are like, I don't need to work on it, or I have worked on it. And I think you're a really good example of like this explanation, astrological explanation I'm going to give is that trauma is Scorpio. Scorpio is about trauma triggers, trauma loops, trauma healing, but it's not trauma healed. It's not past tense. And Scorpio is ruled by Mars, the most rebellious planet, and it's frozen water. So imagine trying to navigate your traumas like with this rebellious planet where there's frozen water. I'm not saying you can't figure things out, but it's not nearly as clear. It's designed to be hidden and stuff. And there's a fear to it. And a lot of times people are like, no, I worked on it. Listen, I'm not saying you haven't worked on it, but if you still have the physical symptoms, there's still more to do. And the thing that people don't realize is that when you're like, if you have really truly worked on your trauma, you don't over-identify, you're not as hyper aware, you don't have as much clarity with the trauma as you do because you move into the next sign, that next stage. Every sign, every house dissolves the energy of the previous sign, the previous house. And so the next sign after Scorpio is Sagittarius, which is optimistic and stuff. And it's a mutable sign. It has a growth mindset versus Scorpio, which has a fixed mindset. I'm not saying that you can't heal. Scorpio is a beautiful sign. It's personally my favorite sign, but the Sagittarius is second to Scorpio. So it's the Scorpio's resources. It's your trauma's resources. What supports your resources or what supports you is the second sign, the second house. So what's going to help you to support your trauma is going to be Sagittarius, taking an optimistic approach, looking at things from a higher perspective, looking at spirituality. And when you look at it that way, like Sagittarius is represented by a centaur, which is half human, half horse. It's got the higher wisdom of primal animalistic instincts and the higher wisdom of humans integrating together and stuff. It's this fire sign. And in order for a Scorpio to heal, you have to let the water melt. And so think of it like that fire, that hope, that optimism is healing. And when you go into that space of Sagittarius and stuff, and you go through that pain, you experience like the optimism of like, oh, now I understand why I went through this. You start to see a higher purpose. And it's a physical sign. It's healthy, it's vibrant, it's energized. And Scorpio is 12 houses away from Sagittarius. 12th house is about healing, it's about letting go. There's a little bit of a confusion there. So if you are over here saying, like, I am super aware of my traumas, I've worked through it, I really know, I hate to break it to you, but not really. So, you know, and I don't say this to be so that you can be like, oh shit, I got more I got to do. No, this is more to tell you, like, hey, you're not stuck here, which means you get to have a different outcome. You get to heal. And so the thing is, for me with endometriosis, like, that's a very psychosomatic, that's very Scorpio, Pluto, that's very water, spiritual, psychic energy. And so for me, actually taking the psychological, spiritual, emotional approach was easier because it was manifesting physically, but it wasn't really like it's not a physical, like it's like it wasn't like it's not like, I mean, it's not like a Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo sort of a thing. So this is why understanding the root cause is helpful, because you may have been using the approach that is still important, you know, but there may be other ways that you approach your issues that are going to be more effective. I sat there trying to see doctors and change my health and change my diet and my nutrition, and these things helped. But what ultimately helped me was to kind of get psychologically obsessed, kind of use that energy to work through some of my traumas and stuff, which gets me to my next point. Some of the things people say is they're like, oh, I don't have money. Now, sometimes, like, obviously, yes, it is a legitimate, sometimes that can happen. But humans, capitalistic society, consumerism monetizes things. Nature does not. So there, some things when it comes to healing does cost money. You know, like the fulvic acid, the zeolite, you know, the bile salts that you mentioned. Those things, yes, cost money. But emotional, psychological work, you know, the lymphatic massage that we want to show you guys, that's free. So, like, and that's the thing, is that, like, you have to start looking at, like, okay, like, you know, situations, there are certain things that are true, but you need to ask yourself, like, sometimes what we believe to be true, first of all, isn't true. Like when you say, I don't need to work on the emotional, psychological, spiritual root cause, is that actually true? No. Sometimes things are true, like, okay, I have some legitimate financial restrictions. Okay, that's true. Is it helpful? Can you change that? What can I do that's available to me for free? That's really what we want to get you to notice, is that there isn't just one path to healing. And this is so important for you guys to recognize. That's my little rant.
Jaymie, it's I have forgotten to mention before the mindset of really, because if I think every day the same thing, every day, I am unworthy and I'm this and I'm that. First of all, am I masochistic that I want to hurt myself even more? Why I'm not worthy? Okay, you took the analogy of say we talk now about astrology. Okay, not medicine, but astrology. You took the Scorpio. Of course, if you are Scorpio rising, the first house, also the first, say Scorpio, then the second house will be Sagittarius, which is, by the way, the house of Jupiter. It's the liver. It's the boss of the liver.
There you go.
So the mindset, it's of course the head. The head is ruled by Aries. But portions of the brain are in sections. The amygdala, for example, is the moon and Neptune. We don't talk much about the amygdala.
I remember learning that about you, and that's when I realized that I liked you. As a Pisces, I was like, ooh, that's great.
Okay, then we have the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, you name it. But our brain is in sections. We have actually two brains, if you want. So the big one here and the small one, the cerebellum, is also very important because it goes down to the spine. Okay, so the mindset, I can tell myself I have a headache. I can repeat it 150,000 times a day, and the body says, okay, you want a headache? I will give you a headache. Never mind, I will do it. So I have a headache, and then I complain, I have a headache. But it's my mindset. That's why I said before, it's your own responsibility. And also, I don't like the word healer. You heal yourself. I have patients who say, you healed me. No, because I do acupressure. I work without the needles, okay? It's not acupuncture, acupressure. The points are the very same. And I said, I try to explain to them, we as humankind, we have forgotten to heal ourselves. We are too busy, and I have other things to do. I can't listen to my body. I don't give a damn about what my body says. And the psychological issue, anyway, that is bullshit. I don't want to look at it. So we get always in the same loop. It's what we forget. We are like in the hamster wheel, and sooner or later we will get spit out of that wheel, because the wheel gets broken, and then we stand there and say, oh my God, where am I? What am I doing now? And that is very important, that we try to look ourselves as a healer, our own healer. We don't need other healers. I am as a doctor, Jaymie. I know it sounds stupid, but this is the way it is. I am very pragmatic. Okay, with this anyway. Saturn in Aquarius, I can't do difference. We are none of us. As I said, I don't like the word of healer, that you heal others. You heal yourself. It's your own responsibility. Okay. Each one of us, we have forgotten when we incarnated in this body. We had to learn to read, to talk, to walk. We were not able to do anything at all. Okay, so it's your body, it's your health. Nobody can. This I say all the time to my children, especially my youngest one. I cannot think for yourself. I cannot breathe for yourself, for you. I cannot act for you. I cannot feel for you. That is only you. I can give you a tip if I want, but I can't do more than that. You have the rest. You have to do it by yourself. Okay. And in general, I am as a medical doctor. Even if I left the normal, the allopathic medicine and the Western approach, because I've learned first the Western approach, treating the symptoms. I am merely the tool to show you how you can treat yourself or heal yourself. It is up to you if you want it or not. I try to give a whole picture, but I am only the tool, and I'm a human being only too. If it resonates with you, that your body, because you have to wait, and also how your body reacts, because we don't know in advance. I can say, well, you could take spirulina, for example, but perhaps your body doesn't like it. I say, no, I don't need spirulina, I need something else. So it's also, even if I give you that that tip that you could take it, but perhaps your body doesn't want it, but wants something else. These factors are also very important, because it's very specific for your body. Another one says, yes, give me more, give me more. So it's also, I say to people, use your discernment. Feel your body more, because the body is talking to us. As I said, the one with the chips, potato chips. I know I shouldn't eat it, but I
love crunchy food. That's my favorite indulgence. I don't care about sugar or any of that stuff. It's just the crunch for me.
Yeah, me too. I don't like sweet stuff. I like everything that is salty. And also, please, the myth about salt.
Oh yeah, I have low iodine. So, and I cook everything from scratch. So many of my health issues are because of low. Yeah.
If you come to me, say you have an accident, and I am the first responder, I am your emergency doctor. What will I give you first?
The The iodine, yeah, and that's the other thing. Every time you go to an emergency room, they always plug you up with that salt water and stuff, and they're like, "Stay away from salt," and it's just like.
Also, the myth: don't you have to have a diet with very poor salt. None of us is eating 500 grams a day of salt. You need salt to survive. Also, natrium and kalium or potassium. These two, they balance also.
What's natrium?
Salt.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes.
And potassium. These two are very important because they work together, and they balance also the water in the body. Not only the water, but without salts you cannot survive. That's it.
Yeah.
What happens if you are dehydrated? What will I give you first?
So funny. It's true. So I do have a question about that, because I know you were recommending that when it comes to minerals, it was calcium, and what was the other thing to take 5 hours? Oh, calcium and magnesium to take it 5 hours apart. Yeah. What about with potassium? Or are there any like recommendations or anything you can think of where we have to like separate it?
Take potassium and magnesium. You can take both together. You can marry both. They go very well. They love each other. Okay. Magnesium and potassium.
That's good to know. Okay. Very cool.
But no calcium, please.
Yeah.
No.
I learned that and I was so mad. I was like, I've wasted so much money. But that brings me to, what was I gonna ask? Oh, okay. So, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know if it depends on the individual, because like I know like when you do personalized, readings and stuff, it does depend on the individual. But like honestly, like taking the different supplements and paying for them separately to make sure that they work properly, they're kind of expensive, but it's more expensive to get them economically where they're all together and they neutralize each other. But what do you think about liver supplements and organ supplements?
Depends. What I always would look first is the liver.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
Okay.
Keep it always simple. You can take what is it in fish or something with artichokes, for example.
Okay, yeah.
But as I mentioned before, I said the fulvic acid, the zeolite, and the bile salt. These are the ones that give like a shock because they work on different levels. The artichokes, they just work on the level, okay, I just try to detox the liver.
Yeah.
We want to get like a shock for the body. Just so you give the body a push and not slow. I'm not working, for example, with how you call it, smallly the dosages and stuff. No, give a shock to the body so the body can work with it. Okay?
Oh, so you mentioned to take it for 3 days. The and I guess it depends on the brand, but the one that I came across, they want you to take it every day for 6 months and stuff. Do you?
I said for the bile salt, because the bile salt.
Bile salts. Oh, for 3 days. Okay, gotcha.
3 days.
Just and the bile salts.
The rest you can take for months. But the bile salt, I'm sorry if I did not say it. Perhaps
that might have been me.
The bile salt. 3 days, and those 3 days you should eat as less as possible.
That makes so much more sense. Yeah. No, that totally makes a lot of sense. Okay, and I'm excited about this because I have a lot of like stuff where I've gravitated towards looking at my liver because I have Sagittarius in my 6th house. So, and a lot of the issues that I have are, well, let's be real at this point, like every issue is correlated to the liver, But, and I don't remember the name, but it was like the one thing that everybody mentioned. It was like the universal formula that they recommended. And I personally have very intuitive accuracy about my health. And I never felt like it would work, and it never did. But I have a different feeling with like fulvic acid and zeolite. I'm like, ooh, so I'm really excited about that. Yep. For those of you guys who live in the US, because this is something that you recommended, and so I want to share it with other people, because like supplements can be really expensive. I almost didn't ask you because you don't live out here, and I'm so glad that I did. there's a supplement company that doesn't have marketing, that doesn't do marketing, so they're more affordable, although they're starting to get more expensive. They're starting to get more publicity. I'm worried about the cost, but you recommended piping rocks for
Yeah.
your American clients,
Yeah.
and they have USDA GMP certified supplements and stuff. They're very economical, literally trying to find a company that doesn't do a lot of marketing. They can make it a lot more affordable. So I highly recommend them. And I've taken their stuff and I've actually noticed my lab work, like I saw the improvements, whereas I've taken other supplements and it didn't make any difference.
You have
So
to be very careful with supplements in general, because today, for example, I have to prepare over 3,000 capsules for. I sell them to doctors, natural doctors.
oh, I love that.
But the mixture, I have to be sure. I have to have certificates of the lab. I mean, I know them since years. Okay, I can't get them from piping rock, so I make them
Oh
myself.
yeah.
And I know what's in there because there are non-GMO products. I pay for it, but I give it. I give the quality to the patient at the end user through these two doctors. I have one because since years I sell them. Once again, against depression, anxiety, and you name it. It's actually a plant that grows in Africa. And the other one is against PMS and also for women that get menopause. It's for both, but this is only really a real compound. I don't put any magnesium steroid into the capsule. It's just the compound because it's
That's
important.
great.
Even if they would make a test without my knowing, they would find only the compound, not just to fill it with whatever. I
The
don't like that.
fillers, yeah.
Yeah, no. That's why I said, okay, I will make them myself. Even if it's 10,000, I will make them myself.
Thank goodness for your earth placement.
That is my yes. Yes, thanks God I have my earth placements. Otherwise, I would be unbearable for people.
I'm not a particularly angry person, but if I had to do that, it would be suffering. But it's so great that you're doing it. You know, we need that. That's super amazing. I love it.
Jaymie, as a double Aries, I cannot be different. I have to say as it is. I don't like this wishy-washy, behind.
Me neither.
I say, look, either you like it or you dislike it. But I'm not a people pleaser. I have been saying
Me
also
neither.
that on Lada's videos when I have been doing on Lada's channel. I am not a people pleaser. I don't tell you what you would like to hear to make you happy. I say, look, these are the facts. We make the best out of it. We have to, I am very solution oriented.
Yes.
Okay. I want the solution. Where is the solution?
And this is what I forgot to mention when I was going on my whole little astrological, philosophical health rant about Scorpio and Sagittarius, and how I was saying you're a really good example of that, is that you used to be an ED, an emergency doctor and a surgeon. That's very Scorpio, it's emergency, it's going to the root of things, So, and those are very important, like, things to do. So I'm not trying to knock Scorpio when I say that, like, if you're in that state, you haven't finished healing because you haven't gotten to the Sagittarius state yet. But I'm saying that that's just one of the stages. Like, don't end there. Like, like you go into the emergency room and you see the ED and you get surgery. That's not the end of the story. That is the beginning, really.
Absolutely. What happens after?
Yeah. And you are that example. Sagittarius is an astrologer. It sees things from a higher perspective. It's spirituality. You literally use medical astrology, spirituality. So you are like, I've always felt this way. And I have a reading called Heal Your Shit, which is designed specifically for Scorpio stelleniums, because I realized they really get stuck. And so this is one of those philosophies that I add and I share these insights. But I realized, I was like, you are literally a living archetype of like that philosophy that I always use. And so you're a great example of that.
Well, I try to give what I have learned. I can give to others. I mean, to a certain extent, because otherwise we will be here for the next 10 years. We have what we don't have to forget, Jaymie. Whatever we do, to remain humble. I can't stand people that don't know everything and that can do everything. I said, okay, congratulations, you must be God. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, and also to ask if I don't understand something. I ask. I said, what are you talking about? Because I don't know the what's behind, what is the you know, the entire picture. It's not easy also to be in public because you get criticized and you get this and you get that, or they don't like my nose or whatever. I don't give a beep beep. Sorry. Because we try to help people in our way. We give it for free, the information. Whatever information we can give, it's to help also others. Not it helps us perhaps also to heal aspects of us, but many people they cannot know you know, medical stuff. They didn't study it. So it's my duty, if you want so, for the ones that are open to receive.
Absolutely.
To memorize it or to listen it later on. And I think that is important that it's also part of our duty on this planet to share our knowledge or our life experience. What my grandmother used always to say, though, and I have to say it, she was saying, words never teach, only experiences do. But if you heard it, you will have perhaps soon, who knows, have that experience one day and you will remember it.
And that's why I recommended in the beginning, I was like, please save this video, because honestly, like, you know, you're in a different mindset sometimes when you're first learning. And so experience, that's a big thing. And that actually also brings me to something that I did want to mention where, you know, I did mention, you know, we kind of like, we have the narrative of thinking that like the most important things to address, the root cause, are of insignificance, but also to have mindset shifts. And this is why, like, I shared the insights that I shared, because all of this information we're providing you with is useful, but it's only useful if you use it, you know? And
Absolutely.
and when you're in pain, you normalize certain things because it is also a coping mechanism. Like it's physiology, you know, like we're trying to protect ourselves. So we hang on to that narrative because like there is a fear about getting to the root of it and stuff. But one thing I also want to mention is that like when you have chronic pain, chronic complaints become such a theme and stuff, because it's also one of the few like constants in our life. It's the one thing that continues to support us, you know, it doesn't abandon us. So I want to talk about like a mindset shift that I recommend that you look at, because you normalize complaining without realizing it. So there's narrating a situation. Sometimes what you're experiencing isn't positive, so the things that you say isn't positive, but it's neutral in nature. Then there's complaining to perpetuate the problem, and then there's complaining to resolve the problem. I'm not like, I don't believe in shutting someone down, suppressing them. That's not going to help you to deny a situation. That's why you're having the issues that you have now. But really ask yourself, the dialogue and the narrative you have around your health issue, is it supporting you or is it not? Complaints can actually be really beneficial if it motivates you, you know? And this is where I always say with, especially with astrologers, like, you don't just want someone who's knowledgeable, you want someone who is solution oriented, has a creative mindset, a growth mindset, so that they can actually give you recommendations that are useful versus just, you know, sharing information. But when you complain to process the information, to resolve it, that's actually a sacred complaint. So I want you to start thinking about, what are you telling yourself? How can you like redirect it to help you? What narrative is supporting you? How can you, if you are in a state of perpetuating that problem, how can you shift into finding solutions? For example, with some of the things that we said, what's one of the things that you can do to really like shift that And that brings me to my next point. I do want to show everyone the lymph massage because this is one of those things. It's free. Okay. So
Jaymie, sorry, if I want to add,
yes.
we are not here to motivate.
Yeah.
We are here to inspire.
Yeah.
Just be an inspiration. Motivation
Exactly.
has a negative note in it. I don't like it that much. But to
It's
inspire.
not always sustainable. You know what it is? Motivation is very like it's outward pushing in, and it's like this needs to come from you. That's why like we want to provide you with insights that you can shift in yourself.
Exactly.
You know?
To inspire people with whatever message we have, and I hope it will reach the audience. I'm sure that it will, because people that are open for also the level of energy, they will get it. It will help them.
Absolutely. And so yeah, do you want to, should I stand up? Can we show the lymph massage?
Yes, please.
So, well, I guess we'll start with like, I mean, we'll only see, okay, well, I guess I'm going to sit down first and then I'll stand up as it goes by. But it was starting off with what you were talking about up here, right?
No.
So this is something that I've been doing.
Down. It calms down. It helps also the bowel, but it's in general it does calm you down. It does help to lower your whatever have in your brain. Say hello, come to normal, please. It's another state. Come out of that negative mode, and then it helps a lot the vagal nerve. Okay,
and then
do it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then I like to do this sweeping motion, but I hate this sensation, so I've been doing this. It makes such a big difference. Is that okay?
This is like you would cuddle yourself.
Oh, yay, so it's better. Oh, I like that. That's perfect.
It's like you cuddle yourself like this. It's also nice. Imagine, for example, our ancestors are no longer with us. They try to get in contact with us also. Yeah. If you do this, they might embrace you too. I know it sounds perhaps silly, but
I love that because I know it sounds crazy, but this I don't like it. It makes my wrist feel funky. And it's like, this was, once I discovered this, I was like, this is a game changer, you guys. Because sometimes I wasn't doing my lymph massages because I wanted to avoid this experience. So coming here and just kind of bringing it down. And then I know there's things in between, but I kind of started like switching to like the leg part after a while. But is there something in between that we should do, or?
You can do it under the armpits.
Oh, I do that. I actually forgot. I didn't do it today. So this is the one that I saw, and you were saying that it's a good idea too, where it's like you do this and you just slowly pull at it 10 times. Or I guess you can do the massage, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I heard
also you go outwards too.
Yeah. From
the side here, you go up, and then you do this.
Oh.
It's like when I do acupressure, there are some spots that I touch, but the entire arm, and also do this.
Oh yeah.
And I do, when I finish, the lemnis is like the infinite.
Oh yeah, the infinity. Oh yeah. Oh.
And this gives you also balances out the body, but not only the body, also the spirit and the mind, the infinity. Yeah. If you do it, I start under the armpit, go round from the shoulder down, and to the how you call them in English? I have forgotten.
The wrist.
The wrist, and then I finish off with the infinity.
Oh. Yeah, no, so I've been doing this and then this, and then I've been doing the armpit one, and then this is where I wanted to stand. Oh.
Watch out not that you fall down, please. Yeah. We don't want injuries.
That would be a really bad video, right? And so then you just do the sweeping motion on the side here. And then I want to say the back, you were saying like you use the hand here, right? And you
Yeah,
sweep like
you
this.
you don't touch a lot
Oh,
behind the knees. You
oh,
just do
you
it
don't.
gently. You just do it gently with your.
Oh, okay. You're just kind of got
Yeah.
it. Okay. And then you go here and you sweep down, and then you get to your ankle, and we sweep over the ankle.
Well, you have the ankle, Jaymie, on top where the bone is.
Mm-hmm.
There is a spot exactly there. There is a spot where you actually drain out the toxins. When I do the drainage,
Oh,
and don't forget you have to do both sides, not
yeah.
only one side. That is very important. Okay.
So this is something that you can do, and it's one thing that I wanted to like, again, one of those mindset shift reminders is that like regardless of your situation, this is something that's free. And honestly, regardless of what's going on in the sky, this is something that's good for us to do in general, but especially right now with Saturn, which creates blocks and corrections and is also about consistency and stuff in Pisces, which rules the lymphatic system. This is a great way to practice consistency and stuff. And it's a really like gentle practice. Like Venus is about healing, support. It's exalted in Pisces. So I feel like this is like the most ultimate radical self-love that we can offer ourselves. And I wanted to give you some guys some ideas of what I do to kind of inspire you and give you guys some insights. And you can find your own version. Or if you're like me and you don't have strong earth in your chart, don't get discouraged because we all have earth houses, earth signs, earthly planets, and it's about how you use that energy. And so for me, I turn my birth chart, because you can turn your birth chart into a clock, and each zodiac sign turns into a 2-hour increment. So I have the hours of Taurus between 10 a.m. to 12. And because it's the most fixed earth sign, I use this energy. And so what I do every day is I do this this daily lymph massage, and I also use this magnesium lotion. A lot of us
Yeah.
are deficient in magnesium, so and it absorbs better through our skin. So I use a couple drops of this. I also use some essential oils because that's the Taurus is about the five senses and its scents and stuff. I won't tell you about like the what to use. Like I don't know what's going on with your health, but as a way to stay grounded, I also use like specific oils that are associated with certain days. Each day is represented by a specific planet and specific body part. So, and I also do this because I have Uranus, the planet of change, in my 6th house. So I need to keep it exciting for me to keep doing something. So on Sundays, it's ruled by the sun. It's about
Yeah.
so I like to use citrus, but it rules the spine. So I put it along my spine. Mondays is about like I put it on my stomach, something relaxing. Tuesday, I use something stimulating. Go figure, it's ruled by Mars, and I just put it wherever I want that day. Like I don't have a designated spot. Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, and so that's the hands and arms. So I put it on there.
Shoulders.
And so, yeah, Thursday is the ruled by Jupiter. It's the lymphatic system. So I've been putting I have a lymph like an oil specifically for lymph support, and I put it kind of back here. And on Fridays are ruled by Venus. I use something that's floral personally on my breast. Saturday, I use something grounding pretty much wherever I feel like it. After a while, the system falls apart and I can only designate for so long. But this is just an example of something that I do. And then I take like, as I'm standing up and I'm doing all of this, I take 6 deep breaths. And I do this because the 6th house is about habits, it's about how you manage your health and stuff. So that's something that works for me. I know it's a little bit specific, so it's not going to be for everyone, but essentially, try to attach doing this because at the end of the day, this is a very easy thing. It's free. It's just easier to not do it until you develop the habit and stuff. So, do this with, if you wear makeup, like after you're putting on makeup or when your coffee is brewing, you can do this like in an office, whatever it is, pick a specific time and day that works well for you. And until it gets into a habit, I recommend setting your alarm, having like a visual reference, like if you're like at an office and if you're like me and you get bored easily, have some printout reminders and switch it up. I remember at one point I was thinking of, but I decided to not do it. I was thinking of doing this when I was in the shower. And so I was going to laminate instructions and get some Velcro and tape it on my bathroom wall so I can look at it as a visual reminder, you know. And whenever I do stuff like that, I always switch it out because the reminders are supposed to remind us. And I think sometimes people forget that like the system works until it doesn't. And then people don't try to, you know, create a new system to make it sustainable. So that's something that I do recommend. But these are just some ideas, and you know, just something small like this. Pisces is a passive sign, so doing something like, you know, like gentle and stuff is really effective. Saturn, it's not a greedy planet like Jupiter, so you don't want to do like everything. You know, you don't have to do all the things. Just like wherever Saturn is in your chart, you want to practice a little bit of consistency. So this is a great way to use this energy.
Well, Saturn also we have, because it's in Pisces, as a suggestion too. We often forget about our feet.
Yeah.
We spend the entire day on our feet. Give yourself pamper yourself. Take a foot bath. At least for half an hour, put your feet into warm water, Epsom salt. What I use a lot is Himalayan salt. And the toxins, they get sucked also from the foot. Okay? But leave the feet into the water. It also helps with swollen stuff that you have with the legs. But the feet, at least once every second day, especially now in our hemisphere, because here now is summer. Obviously in the southern hemisphere is winter. It's more swollen up in the summer because we are outside, we run around like idiots, you know, open shoes and whatever. But at least every second day, put your feet in salt water. That's it. For half an hour, that will help you, will regenerate you, especially now with Saturn in Pisces.
You're totally right that we forget about our feet, because the other thing I forgot to mention with my daily ritual and my daily breathing and my lymphatic system is I take my socks off and I put my bare feet on the ground when I do the 6 breaths. So that's the other thing I forgot to mention.
Ground yourself. You have to ground yourself
Yeah.
all the time. And because Pisces is also part of the
La la
unseen,
la la la.
the other world. Stay
Yeah.
grounded. Stay very grounded, please. I mean, Saturn will put some structure also there. There was
Definitely.
dreaming is fine. You can dream at night, but during the day you have to do your job.
This is the best time to strategize our dreams. A lot of times people have dreams and visions and they're just like, oh, but I just can't because of life and reality. Some of the best things you could do right now strategically is to strategize your dreams, grounded. It's one of the best things right now.
For example, we have talking about astrology, of course. We have now
Jupiter Uranus.
Jupiter. I want to give a little bit an overview, but very brief about Jupiter, okay, because it's important to know. Jupiter, it's the right, the thigh, the hips in general. Shatika is very famous, one of it, because Shatika is ruled by Sagittarius. And of course, the liver. The liver, Jupiter is the ruler. And Jupiter rules as well excess, in general, everything which is excessive. Overconsumption, for example, overindulgence in activities, in drugs, alcohol, and food, and you name it. So you may be prone to gaining weight easily or easier for the ones that have the tendency, because Jaymie and I, we have the opposite problem, don't we, Jaymie? Or perhaps with Jupiter, it might become more indulgent with narcotics, which alcohol, and possible liver failure because of that. Jupiter doesn't like very much to be in Taurus. It's an earth sign. It's not his home. He's a guest, but he does his best. He says, "Okay, I'm here, a guest. I'm anyway. the boss of the bosses because I'm Jupiter, okay? I am Zeus. I am the god of the Olymps, and nobody ever it has to dare tell me anything, okay? I do what I want. I am Jupiter. So Taurus says, okay, you are in the house of Taurus, which is actually a ruler of Venus, which is in Pisces. Not it's not in Pisces, but at the moment there is Saturn, and I want to talk about that because they are in a sextile. So whatever problems you might have in because Taurus rules the neck, rules the tonsils, the lower jaw, but especially the neck and part of the ribs also. I don't remember which one it is now, but anything that has to do with the neck, the tonsils, as I mentioned before, down actually the lower jaw, or actually from here down, it's Taurus. It will help to improve or at least to bring structure in it, thanks to Saturn. Now it's retrograding in with the 7 degrees of Pisces, if I'm correct. Also because Saturn, which actually without Saturn, we would not be able to survive on this planet because Saturn gives us the skeleton. Saturn is responsible for our skeleton, is responsible for our teeth, for our joints, also the skin, because many people don't understand it. The skin, why the skin? It's a barrier from the outside. He's looking that nothing happens to our skin, which is our biggest external organ. As the skin is an organ, okay? So if we have part of the skin which are it's very dry, people that this is just comes in my head now. If you have, for example, Saturn in the first house, you may tend to be drier than most people in general on the skin. It can be linked to keratosis, eczema, dermatitis, and many other skin conditions. So, but Saturn also, because it's ruling the teeth, calcium, okay, but taken on its own. Dental problems might also get settled with this specific transit because it's in a
sextile. Yeah.
Because also Saturn could cause arthritis. Anything that is ending at itis, that means is an inflammation. Okay. Tonsillitis, anything itis at the end, it means it's inflamed. This is medical terminology, okay? Because you hear it, but most people don't know it. Itis, it's always meaning that it's already inflamed. Uranus, because we have Uranus also in Taurus, and Uranus is unpredictable. He comes out of the blue, and he is the only planet in our solar system. You know that Saturn has the rings. He's very famous for the rings around him, okay? But it's horizontal. Uranus doesn't have it horizontal. It has it the other way around. It's the only planet. It's weird. But Uranus is very special. He is the guy that you find on the stage that is half crazy, half bananas, but not in a bad way. He's out of the norm. He's completely different as the norm. That is Uranus. But he also is the father sky. In Greek mythology, Uranus is actually the father and Gaia is the mother. So after that, Saturn was born and the other planets. So Uranus is actually perhaps older, if we want to, than Saturn. But Saturn
it's the old eccentric grandpa.
Yes, absolutely. Saturn, excuse me, Uranus rules, for example, the lower legs or the ankles, which could be also Saturn because Aquarius rules the ankles, okay? And the modern ruler is Uranus from Aquarius. That's why the ankles. But he rules much more than that. I'm just talking very general because I said otherwise we would be having here a video that goes for hours and hours and hours. And varicose veins, for example, of course, but this when people are getting older. So it's in astrology we talk about unexpected events, accidents. Very this is also it has happened to me personally with Uranus. I had an accident with my hip, Sagittarius, but never mind. I have a hernia and I'm working on it. I'm just say you can be more accident prone with Uranus. You have to be a little bit careful, mindful, avoid any thing that you think, yes, I am an adrenaline junkie and I need to do this. Don't avoid. But Saturn here also, because in a sextile, they help each other, even if they don't like each other. Because Uranus says, I am actually your father and you have to do what I'm telling you. And Saturn says, what? Of course not. I have my own conditions and you have to. Anyway, so with Uranus, unexpected ailments can occur, but really it's in a sextile. And finally, because I want to talk about Neptune too. Why? Because Neptune is also in Pisces.
Pisces, yeah.
Okay, so it's also in a sextile. It helps because I am a little bit not scared, but I think a little bit about when Saturn will meet Neptune. There will be the clash of the Titans, both of them, because Neptune rules the feet, for example. When I look at Neptune in a natal chart, especially on the ascendant, I am 100% sure that the person will have immune system issues, but chronic ones, really.
Yeah.
It was perhaps already born with immune system issues, because also it rules the lymphatic system. That's why I'm mentioning Neptune, okay? I don't want to say having Neptune in a critical degree can cause health problems with the feet especially, okay? Because Pisces, but it's much more than that. For example, like athlete's foot, poor circulation, that is also something with, especially with Saturn in Pisces, poor circulation. That's why I said do a foot bath, which helps to regulate the entire system. Also rules, as I said, Neptune rules Pisces, but it rules also narcotics. Any drug, we can take any drug. Also medication can be drug. Overdosage of medication, it's drug. I'm not talking about narcotics as such only, okay? But also Neptune is also the planet of illusions and this deception. And sometimes if you have a health issue, it can get easily misdiagnosed, also with Rahu, or have ailments that go undiagnosed. I have seen that on natal charts. I say, oh my God, I don't even know what this patient, what is it? And I tell you, but it's not only, I want to say this again, it's not the placement only from a planet which is in, say I have Mars in Leo, okay? It's in my 5th house, fine. As an Aries, I have no problems because I have so much energy. My mother used to say, if you would sell your energy, you would be the richest person on earth. I have really a lot of
such a great
energy.
Analogy.
And yes, but I have still to be careful because if I overindulge also with sport, I was doing a lot of sport, the heart valve could be, I don't know, out of whack and say,
Oh, yeah.
hello, come down, or your spine, because I have issues with the spine.
Inflammation.
Leo rules also the spine. The lower part of the spine, for example, the thoracic spine, because each zodiac sign has not only we know Cancer, yeah, is fine. It's part of the stomach. It's part of the
Not the
rib.
whole story.
It's not also with Virgo. It's the liver, for example, but the lower lobe of the liver, not the entire liver. So it's so complex. It took me. I'm still learning. I have never finished with a medical astrology because people say, "Oh, that is BS. It can't work." I say, "Okay, I don't want to talk to people that are skeptics. If you believe it or don't believe it, is your thing. I am not here to try to convince you." Absolutely, astrology exists thousands of years. I have learned Greek astrology, or actually the old system. I have Cuba system, but for me it's not working because it's too psychological. I want to concentrate on the medical stuff. So I implemented this, and I got in touch with astrology by mistake. I was very young. I said, okay, this is
Quote, mistake.
I said, this is nothing. It's not scientific. When I was very young, it's I don't like it. But when I got older, I got again into it because I have astrologers in my family. Actually, one astrologer and doctors and other things in my family. So I implemented both because I took myself first to understand what happened when I was 4 years old. What transit happened that I got
Yeah.
hepatitis? Why I did get hepatitis for? Why? And that will remain the entire life. I mean, I know that I had hepatitis B through an infusion when I got. So that's why I say we are humans. None of us is perfect. I don't want to be perfect. It would be boring. But my wish is always, Jaymie, to try to, as I said before, to give not motivation, but to help others to recognize themselves of what they need.
Yes.
Okay, that is very, very important because we are here for a very short period of time on this planet. Don't waste time to get concentrated on really stuff that is not important. Stay grounded, enjoy yourself, enjoy whatever it is. I'm not saying to say thankful, I don't like that, but to appreciate. Also, with your food, what you drink, how you say it in English, when you before you eat it,
You bless it.
you bless it, you bless the water, you bless everything that is around you. And also negativity, which is toxins, toxic people, exhale them. Inhale light and exhale anything that is negative. Do that every day because we forget even that we breathe because it's autonomic. It comes by itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Appreciate also your breath. Inhale light and exhale toxins. And don't forget the infinite sign that gives you also balance in your body. It balances also at the cellular level. Okay.
Absolutely. That was really helpful about Jupiter and Uranus and I was wondering about that because I was like, Jupiter rules my sixth house and I have Uranus there. And I was like, it's in conjunct. I wasn't even thinking about Saturn. I forgot about I forgot about Pisces, you guys, and stuff like that. But that makes me feel good. And it helps me because with Jupiter indulgences and Taurus and stuff, like
Yeah.
I don't crave sweets that much, you know, but I've been having, I would say I've probably had more sugar now, like since Jupiter has been in Taurus than like the past few years, no exaggeration. And I noticed that like with me, when I have like wheat or gluten for like too long, like I'll start to get a little bit of a sore throat. So you're telling me this, and I'm just like, okay, I need to remember to like, you know, not
Yeah,
do
because
that.
you can get allergies,
Yeah,
easily allergies, and they doesn't
toxic
come from,
buildup.
there's a
My
buildup
sun
of
is in
toxins.
Pisces. Yeah.
So
And yeah, but also I was like thinking it's like, oh yeah, like things that like Saturn with retrograde, like what's gonna like some of those issues can heal. Which I'll talk to you guys in a second about your reading. But I did have an ankle injury, and you were like, I got a reading from, it was a general reading and stuff, right? But I was very disappointed in that reading. Like it was so general that I was like, I can give something more specific. They're like, you might have a health issue. What does that mean? Look, everyone will have a health issue at some. It was, anyways. But I was
but it wasn't my one.
no, of course
Uh-uh.
not at all. No, no, no. This is actually I'm referencing it in contrast to we were talking on YouTube on Lana's channel, and you mentioned something. You're like, be careful about your ankle. You didn't already know what happened, but you were like, be careful about your ankle. And it was, what was it? It was I think Saturn was retrograding in Aquarius, which is ankles, and it was squaring Mars, accident, inflammation, and it was
In Taurus.
opposing my body, like my rising. And so you were like, be careful with ankle injury. And I was like, oh yeah, I already fractured my ankle, which in the reading, it told me specific, but I got that reading. I don't remember if I got it before or after, but I wasn't paying attention to that part because, you know, I wasn't in that headspace, but it was the exact part of my ankle right
Yeah.
here. Exactly. So, and all of that. But I had, because it was in retrograde, it was the world's slowest healing. And I have like like I have like bone things in my chart. There's like there's some stuff there, and they ended up giving me they prescribed a bone stimulator, which is really rare. They usually give it to senior citizens, and because it's so rare, the first manufacturer, they stopped like making it, so it took months just to even get it to me. And like it's the kind of injury that like it should take like 1 or 2 months max to heal. I wasn't walking on it for like 2 years. I mean, I had like a brace, you know, and I had crutches, but like it was the world's slowest healing and stuff. I had to use it for the bone stimulator for 3 hours for 6 months, and it was super slow. And so I like that you were saying, you know, this is the time where like, you know, things could heal. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I also ended up having a partially torn ligament, which because when I fell, my foot went both directions and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it was when I went to see the PT, he was just like he was like, wait, which ankle is injured? I'm like, this one. He's like, oh, you have a ligament tear on this one too. My your other ankle too. I was like, no. And he was like, have you ever had a ligament tear there? I'm like, no. He's like, are you
Are you
sure?
sure?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, did you do sports or dance? I was like, I used to be a ballet dancer. He was like, oh, okay. He's like, you might have had a ligament tear, you just didn't know. And then he also asked about behind my left knee, which my knee is also a thing. So I have one confirmed ligament tear on my right foot, an alleged partially torn ligament on my left foot and my left knee. And he was like, did you have a bruise for a really long time? And I was like, yeah, actually I had a bruise in the back of my leg for over a year. My ballet teacher just told me that I popped something back there. And he was like, oh no. So like, yeah, it was, you know, ballet, you rough it out. And I have a high tolerance for pain. So I had no idea. But it was interesting because you gave such a specific reading, and like I'm looking forward to what you said, because I was like, oh, this can like finalize healing, because it's a little bit kind of like, you know, here and there and whatnot.
So
But
it's this period, but that means with
Mhm.
Saturn, you
Yeah,
have to have a structure. You
yeah,
have to be consistent. He doesn't give you anything for free.
no, you
He
got to
says
earn that.
you sit down and you do your homework. This is so, I mean, I'm like a drama, but he says you are doing the homework. You have this work to do, make a schedule, and I will help you.
Yeah.
That is Saturn. And especially when it comes with tendons, because you can tear them down and it's really bad. It takes time to heal. I have broken my foot 29 years ago. I still feel it. Okay.
Yeah.
So especially when it's cold outside. And
That's what's been happening. Yep.
when it's warm, I have no problems. Nothing at all. No arthritis or whatever, you know, this because but sometimes arthritis doesn't have to do really with age, because people think it's only with old people. It's not true. Or rheumatism. I have there are even babies born with rheumatism.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But stay in the good vibes, in the positive vibes, please. Because normally we talk about Saturn in a bad way. He's the malefic, and I don't like that. I don't like each side. Each planet has always two sides. Depends what are you making the best out of it. They are not determining for you. They don't decide for you. They show you trends and they say, hello, you both, please be careful. This transit and they could trigger this and could trigger that on all of us, because our biggest star is our sun, and it is life, and that is also in our body is our rising sign, is our ascendant, is the sun. Okay, so this period I don't remember, because I would say rubbish. I don't remember really until I know, of course, Saturn will stay 2.5 up to 3 years in Pisces, but the retrograde motion, I think it's until November, but don't hang me up.
November 4th.
Okay, so it takes a little bit more time. It means you have to redo something, but with Taurus, because it's a fixed sign and Taurus is stubborn. Okay.
Oh God, yes.
It's very actually I as an Aries I am stubborn, but Taurus it's beating us. No, believe me, they have really you can't do anything to change their mind, and it's in a positive way. That means also it can give structure with eating. That it stops the overindulgence. So for Taurus, especially, it's very good because it's in a sextile, but also for Capricorn indirectly, because it's also in a sextile with Capricorn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I think you gave some great examples, is that, one of the things is for us to be careful with overindulgence and stuff, but it's also because if you are overindulging, there's very much a possibility of an unexpected health issue. So don't think that because you've been overindulging and if you haven't had any symptoms that you're not likely that you're safe. Just kind of like be aware so you make an informed decision. But also, Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces. It's about higher wisdom. It's about spirituality. Pisces is about healing, letting things go, and it's optimistic. So this can be a time where you use higher wisdom and knowledge to change your indulgence, your finances, your habits, your food, and as a result, you create some structure and lead to some healing with Saturn retrograding in Pisces. So there are different ways that you can very much use this. So, I would recommend taking a look at like, okay, what are you most prone to indulging in when it comes to areas of Taurus and where it is in your house? Think about some higher wisdom, some ways that you
it's
can
actually a sweet tooth with Taurus.
Yeah, and make changes in that area of your life using the support of Saturn retrograding in Pisces, and using that sextile energy. So that's a way that you can definitely use this. And if you want more support, well, I want to tell people about what it's like for your like to get a feel of your readings. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, as I said, we'll keep it simple, because otherwise it would be also too overwhelming. I took the most important things, because I said I have to put Neptune in it because it's part of the picture.
Yeah.
especially for Tauruses now, or for Pisces. Thanks God it's something positive and not always this gloom and doom. Or it's because Saturn is, I don't know, in opposition with that side. Yes, it can cause friction, but it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world, okay? But at least, why
It's
don't
not.
we have to say also something positive, for God's sake? It's enough bad stuff out
Absolutely.
there.
So thank you so much for being here. I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure people who are watching this got a lot of insights. I know I have. And I want to talk a little bit about your services, because if any of you guys are interested, I really recommend that you get Maria's personalized medical astrology readings and stuff. And I'm going to give you examples of when I say it's specific, what that means. Because whenever people said that, I never knew what that meant. So I really wasn't satisfied with that, like,
Yeah.
information. But I know you have, like, one of the things that I love is that you make your like, you have like different variety and stuff, so you make it truly accessible, like truly accessible. So you have one that's a small report, which is such a reasonable price, and you describe it as like a small report, and I say that in quotes because, like, it's, I mean, in comparison to the comprehensive one, yes, it's smaller, but if any of you guys have gotten an astrology reading and stuff, like, the standard is about 10 to 15 pages. And I want to say mine was about 10 to 15 pages in that realm. And you had even mentioned that, like, my report was a little shorter than most people because I didn't have as many afflictions. So, one of the things that's great is that it's not like, after a certain point, you just kind of stop. Like, you provide as much information as necessary. If someone has a lot of afflictions, you're going to include them all. And the thing is, in a world with billions and billions and billions of people, like, you need to find what works for you. And so that's literally what this personalized reading offers. And so in the reading, she covers so many different things, from my afflictions, what it means to have certain signs, but not in like the general sense. I found out specific things for me. So there are certain points where you mentioned like anatomical references and stuff, so that, like, we know exactly what it is you're talking about medically. We can research it more if we want to, but you
Yep.
also have like easy to understand everyday descriptions with that, with recommendations. And it's a combination of food as well as herbs that you could take. It's a good variety, but it's not so overwhelming that you're just like, oh my God, it's too much, I need to put it down. But, like, it gives you enough choices. And so, like, you don't have to take everything at once, but you can incorporate it. If something is out of stock, like, you have other options and stuff. And it's, like you kept saying, less is more, like, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're not going to be overwhelming and stuff. So this is also, like, honestly, like, I think everyone should get a natal reading and a medical astrology reading. I feel like every human being will benefit from these things. And it's information that's going to be useful for the rest of your life. And there's very specific details. And there's also information on meridian points and stuff. So there's Ayurvedic information, recommendations. And I actually showed a massage therapist the part about the muscles, because I have Sagittarius in my sixth house. So there was a lot of references. There was like a lot of like muscle groups and stuff. So he was like really agreeing with like the areas that you said that, there's some like things to work on. And there were specific things for me where it's a specific like cervical number back here. And for me, it's related to that. And like, I have like migraines behind my left eye, and it's a meridian to my stomach. And this is really helpful to know, because oftentimes when you have migraines and stuff, like, I don't really want to take medication. I want to get to the root of the problem. But sometimes, you need to take something. And the big thing is, people say, like, if you have a migraine, at least put something in your stomach before you take a medication so you don't upset your stomach. Try to eat something. That doesn't work for me. For me, my digestion is being, my stomach is overwhelmed. So actually not eating was actually more helpful for me. And so I got a lot of great information about that. And specifically when it came to iron, vitamin B, and vitamin C, it was saying like there's either like a low absorption, or I want to say maybe like with iron, it was a low absorption. And with vitamin B and vitamin C, I need a higher dosage. So this is really helpful, because oftentimes when it comes to getting information from online and stuff, and they say like, oh, if you have these issues, take these supplements. They're usually like a bunch of different stuff that, like, they technically work, but they don't work in synergy with each other. And it's so expensive. It's financially, physically, habitually demanding. and stuff. And oftentimes what works best for you isn't necessarily what's being recommended. So this reading will tell you exactly what works best for you and in what dosages. Like for me, all I had to do with certain things was dose up on what I was already taking rather than trying something new. So it's really helpful. You mentioned specifically, and this is just what I remember. There's a lot more because again, mine was like 10, 15 pages, but there was details on a cyst on my left ovary, and it, mentioned that it was psychosomatic in nature, and there were things related to my teeth and like the mineral and like my bone having like a cyclical phase and stuff. It was a specific indicator about my ankle with my bone, and there's things that are like, like heavy bleeding and blood stuff and like some of these things, it really does depend on each individual, but like, like someone who has my chart isn't the only person that's going to be diagnosed with endometriosis. But for me, I know exactly why I have it, and some of like the different like indicators and the insights and stuff. So there was a lot of great information here that you're able to use and make informed decisions. And I know like, okay, so this is the food that I can take. Here are some herbs. Here's the anatomical stuff. Here are some meridian points. So there's a lot of really helpful details here, and it's really specific to you. And with, you mentioned with me, like, because I had less afflictions, the reading was shorter. So like, the depth of even the small report can be like, it can vary in length, but I think that one is such a great one. And if you have to just get one report, honestly, like the cost of supplements cost so much, that I really think you should invest in this one. And that one is $120, right? Which is super, super accessible, you guys. And then I know you also have the comprehensive one. And in that one, you also talk about the afflictions, but also about the specific degrees and the aspects and the fixed stars and the midpoints. And, I find it so interesting. There's so many medical astrologers because I've taken medical astrology courses, I've read books and stuff. Obviously, I don't have the background that you do, but so many medical astrologers don't talk about the degrees. And I'm like, that's kind of a big deal. So,
well, you have to talk about for the big one, the complete assessment. There I gave you my diagnosis.
Diagnosis, yes.
Okay, because always, Jaymie, I look first and foremost the medical aspects. And then afterwards, I have to, when I have all the details and I figure out what it could be, okay, as a diagnosis, which are the findings from the natal chart. And it takes, sometimes it's not easy to find out, okay? I have to give you a picture, a written picture of what what is actually with your body, with you, with your vessel. Okay. I have it's like a mirror. I say, look, Jaymie, I have found this, this, and this, and this. So it's my diagnosis. But I talk about anyway, the anatomical degrees are very important. If there are aspects that are very important that they hurt each other, I speak about Chiron, which is the wounded healer, and also the north node and south node. Yeah, are also integrated in a reading, like in the, but that can vary. It can have 30 pages. I can have even more than 30 pages, depends on the finding. But that is only I had until I have been making many readings in my life. Okay, but I have never found one person with the same thing, even if they were born the same day, but depends on the location you were born. That is very important, the longitude and the latitude.
Yeah.
You can be born the same day in the same hour, but the same day, I mean, the place where you were born. Even twins, they're never the same, even if we think that they are the same. Okay, so it's just for you. And I say less is more, because otherwise you get even more toxins, but you have to get rid of the toxins. They are everywhere in the body. That is the most important thing. And also a complete different mindset.
Yes.
It takes a lot of time to figure out, because I make everything written, and in chapters that you can understand what you're reading. You have to read it several times because you have to understand the different perspective. You see yourself from the above down, eagle perspective. It says, this is me. It's funny. Perhaps I can recognize myself, but it's the medical part. And since the body is the most important vessel that we have to be on this plane, we don't have any other choice. We're not ether, so we have to respect it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to express ourselves. And also, I will never ask anybody, you have to get rid of your ego. What? I have
we need it. It serves us. We just have to use it properly.
Exactly. Without
With
ego
anything.
also, we cannot live on this planet, especially in the 3rd And 5D physically is not possible because otherwise we would be dead. Because in certain videos on YouTube, they say, yeah, well, we are in 5D, or perhaps, yes, spiritually.
Listen, I can travel different dimensions, and I gotta tell you, being in those different dimensions for too long isn't healthy physically,
No,
you guys. It's
not. You cannot do it because
I mean, you can. It's just really bad.
We are dense. Our physical body would, in the 5th, whatever would be disintegrated. So please, I am Saturnian, even though being a double Aries, stay with both feet grounded. This is, many would say perhaps, yeah, well, this is not reality. Never mind. We are on planet Earth. And as long as we are here, we should stay with both feet on the ground, enjoy life, enjoy yourself, also honor yourself, celebrate yourself every day.
I would say this isn't the only reality, but this is very much a reality, one that we're in. And do you really want to spend your time trying to escape it? Like, it just doesn't,
No.
like there are health issues that come with trying to get out of different dimensions that I can tell you from experience, which is not necessary to this video, but like, yeah, like there is sacredness, and it's like we're spiritual beings here to have a human experience, and part of that spiritual experience and honoring that is to take care of our bodies. This is so important.
Honor your psyche, honor your ego, honor who you are on this planet Earth. Make the best out of it. And also change your mindset. We are here only for a very short period of time. And also we should appreciate that we can walk by ourselves, we can breathe on our own, and we can think also on our own. That is very, very important, because I have seen too many tragedies, of course, because of my job. And I appreciate whatever I can do myself, believe me. And especially this one. This is the most important. This is the control tower. Without this one, nothing can work properly. Okay?
Yeah.
So I hope, Jaymie, that we do some other sessions in
I would love to as well.
And
I have so many different topics ideas.
If you want, especially the astrological perspective, I can make it for you. I've written, I can send it to you. So you have to go for the people, especially now. I have just to do it properly. But at least they can read it, because we have been talking a lot and they don't see pictures. It's perhaps also good if they see it or can read it. And of course, if people have questions,
please. Yes. And
you can give my email address, because my website, I said I'm working on it. I'm changing many things. So the best way to reach me is email.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll put all of your contact information below. But yes, the medical astrology reading, you also have a nutritional one, which if you're having a lot of dietary issues, I think that one is really good, the 150. If you can afford to spend more, I would say that the complete diagnosis would be the best one, because it covers so much. But even if you can't, the small report is super great. I know you also have one, I don't know much about it, but the the teeth meridian one, but like someone who has chronic teeth issues, you know, this one is really insightful. But you know,
I
all the
do.
teeth tell us specifically about what's going on in our organs as well. So it is really fascinating.
The one for the teeth, because when I do anamnesis with a patient, I always ask if they have teeth issues. I look at the fingernails also to figure out whatever they should, because
Yeah,
fingernails are also uh, the tongue, the face as such, because you can see it already. If here it's very puffy, for example, that something is not working proper with the kidneys. It's
color of the eyes, the whites.
I do that. I do that, but the teeth also, we have not to forget the teeth, because each tooth, it's connected to an internal organ and what it means. So
Absolutely.
here is Paracelsus Clinic in not very far from here. I know there was the guy that actually is the one using it most, and
Mhm.
not he invented, because I mean, has been there for centuries, but it was like a renaissance, and it's true, because also in the Chinese medicine, you look
Yeah.
also at the tongue, the eye, of course, we do this, but this is old fashioned. Nowadays, they don't look at the fingernails anymore. They don't look at the tongue. We have learned it many years ago. The young generation of doctors, they don't do it anymore.
A lot of doctors, so I'm going to say this and then I'm going to mention some services that I was inspired by through this collab, but a lot of doctors don't realize that like they're descendants of medical astrologers. Like that's where medicine comes from. So it's really
Yeah,
fascinating.
where I started, you see, first you had to learn medicine,
Mhm.
normal medicine, and then afterwards 4 years of astrology and combine both. So you
Yeah.
can treat a human holistically, not
Mhm.
only from the outside, inside, spiritual, the ether,
Yep.
everything, and that is very important. Most people think that I'm crazy, that I'm bananas, and that should be ashamed of myself. Some colleague doctors, even in my family, I have somebody that she says that I'm out of mind, to go publicly, and this is why I try to help people. I'm not
Yeah.
ashamed of anything.
As you shouldn't.
No, but perhaps it's also the envy of people. I don't know, but still,
They're not ready for the information. It makes them uncomfortable. That's what it
absolutely.
is.
I have sworn an oath, Jaymie, that I would not harm anybody. I would not even harm a little ant. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
how would I harm a human? No,
Yeah.
no, for God's sake. And that's why I'm very meticulous. I prefer to say as it is, instead to I dislike this bubble gum cloud fluffy.
Yep.
So no. Stay grounded. Here are the
Mhm.
facts. Let's do strategize and get the solution. That's it. This is
Absolutely.
and love yourself more. Anybody in the audience, please love yourself more. What does it mean,
Mhm.
love yourself? Pamper yourself. Take time just for yourself. Because we women, we tend to be, we're scattered everywhere, especially
Yeah.
women that have kids and family, or to look after people. We are everywhere and nowhere. And that is also causing illnesses, because the body says, okay, I shut down. I'm done. I can't anymore. And most probably nervous breakdown.
And that's a good point because when you were saying love yourself and you were explaining what that means, because I think sometimes people don't prioritize it or don't know what that means, is that if you are tired, if you are having health issues, which is honestly a lot of us, slow down and like give yourself more grace and time. You know, what you're offering to other people, offer to yourself. You know, like, and you
Absolutely.
may normalize like the exhaustion and helping other people, not helping yourself, but it's like think of it like, you know, everything you're doing for other people, start doing it for yourself. That's going to be a good way to love yourself. Slow yourself down. put less on your plate. Like most of us are really like overly stimulated. So find ways to learn to do less, you know, and like strategize, and also like receiving support. That I think is like, that's part of healing. That's what Venus is. So that's
Chiron
definitely.
too. Venus and Chiron are the ones. Chiron is more the wounded healer, more the psychological.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to see at the mirror and say, okay, I know this is my trauma, because each one of us had traumas, and it is not easy to cope with. But it's the first step, and we are not here to suffer. This is also,
No,
we are
we're
here
not.
to
We just
yeah,
overthink.
but most of the time people say, oh, you know, I have to bear the cross and all this beep beep beep, you know what I mean? No, we are not here. It's not God that is punishing us for whatever we do wrong. Please go away from that thought, because these thoughts, they knock us down. They say, oh my God, I have done something wrong again. I will get punished. No, we punish ourselves.
Yeah.
We are here to also enjoy life, to give joy and enjoy. Go out with your pets, whatever you enjoy. You have, if you have a hobby, do your hobby. Stay outside in under the sunshine if you're lucky enough, because I miss the sea and I miss the ocean very much. Go to the beach, stay in the sand. It's also very good for the skin, by the way, sand, because it's really scrubbing the old skin, and you're lucky when you have the sea salt on your skin.
Yeah.
That we don't have it all here, okay? So enjoy that, enjoy life, enjoy yourself.
I'm glad you said that you like Himalayan salt, because I know everyone raves about Epsom salt, but I love Himalayan salt.
I use Himalayan salt. Also
Me
in the
too.
food when I'm cooking, I'm using either Italian sea salt, because we have a lot of sea salt in Italy, or Himalayan sea salt.
I use Himalayan or Celtic sea salt. Those are my two. Yeah.
And also, we don't have to look that the sun is shining, the earth is spinning.
Yeah.
We don't have to do anything. We have to breathe. Breathe in light and exhale toxins.
Yes.
Okay?
Absolutely. I hope that this video have helped you guys. Essentially, you know, we've already mentioned this, but like we want to provide you with this information, and we also want to not just provide you with useful information, but help you to get into a frame of mind and inspire you to make that change and stuff, you know, so that you can actually be useful. And that's why I want to share with you some new readings that I've created. Every time I do a collab, I always set the intention and I feel into the energy and I sense what I think would be really beneficial. And so I have two new services that I'm creating. All of this information is going to be online for me. It's going to be listed on my website. The first one is going to be Get Shit Done. And this is just more like, you know, looking at your chart and helping you to understand like the best way for you to set goals in a way that's sustainable. Because my whole thing in my business is I want to teach you how you can design your life your way in a way that works for you. You know, like you're a fire rising, I'm a water rising, you know, like we have different processes in what's going to help us to succeed, what's sustainable, what's habitual for us. And it's better to work with yourself rather than against yourself. And there are certain things where it's like, okay, here's going to be an area that's supported. I'll like show you what's supported in your chart, where there's some challenges, where you can redirect it. Because again, you want to work with astrologers who aren't just skilled and knowledgeable on a technical level, but you want to work with people who have a solution-oriented mindset, who are creative, who have a growth mindset, so that they don't just give you information, but information you can use that's going to support you, especially where you have challenges. So that's something that I want to offer. And this is going to be useful in general, but if you get a reading with Maria and you decide like, oh, okay, I really want to do these, I really want to make the health changes, but you're finding specifically that you have challenges, and you want this to be in complement of that, you can get a reading from me. And you don't have to give me specific information. Like, Listen, some astrologers will tell you that they need specific details and context and stuff like that. And I think some astrologers do because of the level that they're at. But if you really understand astrology, you don't need to get feedback from other people in order to be able to translate. Like the chart is like we don't need someone to communicate to us specific things because the chart is doing that for you. But obviously I'm not, functioning as a medical astrologer. So if you're like, hey, this is a reading that I got from Maria, and this is the challenge that I'm having, you're welcome to give me details so that I can help you specifically with that area of your life. But in general, you don't have to give me detailed information. But this is pretty much the reason why I was inspired to create that personalized reading. And then the other one that I wanted to create is because the other thing that I feel like, the things that I hear when it comes to just life in general, and especially with health challenges, is people say, I don't have the money, and we live in a world where things cost money. And I know for myself, I was having a lot of financial challenges because I say it like I don't have any anymore. That's not true. But I mean, like my chart ruler has a challenge to Venus, which is about finances and rules my house of financial gains and things of that nature. But there are other ways that I learned I can use my chart to financially support me. And sometimes we have financial challenges because we're not going about things and engaging with finances in a way that actually supports us. So I'm going to have a service called Detox Money Traumas, where I'll tell you where some of your challenges lie, what are some ways that you can resolve it, some of the best way for you to make changes to improve your financial situation. I want to be clear, this isn't financial advice. Like I'm not going to give you specific stock investments or anything like that. I'm not, anything like that. I can tell you certain things that you're more favorable for, certain things that, aren't going to be necessarily the most lucrative based on interpreting your chart. But this is something that you can also use, and so if you want to get a reading, I mean, this is going to be useful either way. I will say that if you can pay for that reading, you might as well just go for the general reading, like through Maria. But if you also want to learn, like, what are some ways that I can manage my finances, process my traumas, so that you can have more finances, that is something that I'm going to be offering. So those are the two services, and we've already talked about your readings. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to share.
Well, me too. I think I said so much or enough. I hope that we were able to inspire people. That is our goal, and that we will be again sooner or later.
Yes, absolutely.
Talking.
I know I was telling you, I'm glad we started with the immune system because that's a good foundational thing. But I know I've also mentioned to you, I was like, oh, I really am interested in talking about like ADHD and endometriosis because that's a personal connection that I have with it. But if any of you guys have any specific topics that you want us to cover,
Yeah.
please comment, please let us know, because we really want to know what's going to support you. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for this collab. This was super wonderful.
Thank you, Jaymie. Thank you, audience, for your time in looking and listening to us. So be careful, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.